was the most evil, treacherous minister in history, and also the power holder who manipulated the empire's politics at will. I was omnipotent, but the one thing I couldn't do was enjoy the pleasures between men and women. So to fulfill that desire in my heart, I decided to activate the reincarnation ritual to start life over again. Even if the survival rate was only 1%, it couldn't shake my determination. What good was having money, power, and strong martial arts skills if I was still a person without genitals? At the age of 12, I was deceived by a corrupt slave trader who cut off my genitals and sold me into the imperial palace. In the years that followed to find my genitals back, I not only visited every famous doctor, but also devoted myself to cultivation, becoming the palace's top master. I even turned the foolish emperor into my puppet. But in the end, fate didn't go as I wished, so I prepared for the reincarnation ritual. In my next life, I was determined to enjoy the pleasures between men and women, with 3,000 wives and concubines. Otherwise, it could never make up for the regrets of this life. Just then, the emperor came crying, saying, "Are the pleasures between men and women really that important? As long as you stop this ritual, I can fulfill any request you have." But I resolutely refused his request and ordered my subordinates to forcibly send her back. Perhaps because I watched her grow up since childhood, I already saw her as my own little sister. Even though his offer made me waver a bit, I knew deeply that the greatest sorrow for a man was not having genitals. Rather than living like this, I might as well die. So I ordered the sorcerer to continue immediately. As the reincarnation ritual activated, countless blinding rays of light began shooting out from my body. When I opened my eyes again, I found an old man sitting beside me. Seeing this, my lower body involuntarily tightened, because this person was none other than Wang San, who had cut off my genitals in my previous life. I was full of confusion. Wasn't he killed by mountain bandits? Why would he appear here? Could it be that I wasn't reincarnated but reborn? I hurriedly lifted my pants to take a look. Thank goodness my genitals were still there. The old man looked at my actions and asked in confusion, "Child, are you uncomfortable somewhere?" Hearing this, I was stunned at first, then showed a meaningful smile, saying, "Uncle, thank you for saving me, but my wrist hurts a bit. Can you take me to a nearby medical clinic?" He pretended to care as he helped me up, and told me his house happened to have many herbs. I snorted coldly, then broke one of his fingers, saying, "What, are you planning to kidnap me and then cut off my genitals to turn me into a eunuch?" Hearing this, the old man was shocked and said, "How did you know?" Before he finished speaking, I broke his arm with a backhand strike. Although I had no internal energy now, fortunately I still remembered the martial arts learned in my previous life. Then I said sternly, "I used to inquire about you everywhere in the palace. When I learned you were killed by mountain bandits, do you know how regretful I was? It was you, this damned slave trader, who made me a eunuch for life." After saying this, I directly twisted his neck and even spat on him to vent my anger. In my previous life, I held power and wealth but couldn't enjoy anything. But now I was different. In this life, I would live for the pleasures between men and women. 2 months later, I was climbing toward the peak of Kongtong Mountain. For that desire in my heart, I would definitely persevere, because there was nothing in this world more anticipated than the pleasures between men and women. Although I could enjoy it by spending some money, I absolutely couldn't dedicate my decades of virginity to such low-level pleasure. I had to have a sweet romance with an absolutely beautiful woman. That kind of mutual admiration was the double pleasure of both body and spirit. This was the pleasure between men and women that I pursued. So the most important thing now was to accumulate wealth and fame. And my purpose in coming to Kongtong Mountain was to join the Kongtong sect, which centered on Taoism. It combined martial arts from Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism, and was considered a righteous sect in the martial world. But due to the mixed nature of its techniques, some people confused it with demonic cults and evil sects. As long as I could successfully join and then combine it with future intelligence, I believed it wouldn't be long before I became a great hero who commanded wind and rain in the martial world. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but smile sinisterly. A moment later, I finally reached the gate of Kongtong sect. I bowed respectfully and said, "I am Li Zhexiu. Is anyone there?" Hearing the childish voice, the old Taoist was astonished. Could there really be children climbing Kongtong Mountain in the dead of winter? Seeing no response, I shouted at the gate again, "Mountain bandits killed my parents. Now I just want to become stronger to avenge my parents. Please accept me as a disciple of Kongtong sect." The next second, the old Taoist suddenly appeared explosively, saying, "Such a small child climbing Kongtong Mountain alone. Aren't you afraid of death?" I firmly stated that compared to joining Kongtong sect, these things were nothing. The old Taoist paused for a few seconds upon hearing this, then asked me to extend my hand and arm. After checking my pulse, he immediately determined that I had used the breathing technique to climb the mountain. This was a mental cultivation method based on accumulating energy. He said, "Since you've already grasped this technique, it shows you have some foundation in martial arts. Did your parents teach you all this?" I nodded against my conscience and said I practiced this only to improve my stamina. Then the old Taoist began introducing himself. I am Kuan Yin, the sect leader of Kong Tong. Normally, joining the sect requires various tests, but seeing your good aptitude, I'll make an exception and let you in. Hearing this, I appeared very excited on the surface, but secretly showed an expression of success, because the nearly bankrupt Kong Tong sect couldn't possibly refuse a new disciple. So I took the time to do a few sets of Kegel exercises. For the sake of future pleasures between men and women, I had to exercise constantly starting now. But when I actually entered Kong Tong sect, the dilapidated scene before my eyes still exceeded my expectations. Although Kong Tong sect suffered heavy losses in the righteous demonic war 50 years ago, there wasn't even one intact pavilion now. Just then, the sect leader suddenly said he wanted to introduce me to a senior brother, and naturally I knew who this senior brother was. It was Liu Zhenghui, who would later be revered as the Sword Saint. I could take advantage of this opportunity to win him over to my side before he rose to prominence. After the sect leader's introduction, a fierce snowstorm came rushing toward us. The next second, a dashing figure appeared before my eyes, saying, "Junior brother, hello, I'm Liu Zhenhui." Seeing this scene, I was astonished. Why was this guy so handsome? This was completely different from the portrait in my previous life. It seemed the rumors about many women fighting over him were true. Thinking of this, I felt terrible. Would all the beautiful women in the future become his? Seeing my strange expression, Liu Zhenhui asked with concern if I was uncomfortable somewhere. I responded that I was just a bit shy, but inwardly I was praying that his genitals were only 3 centimeters long. At this moment, Liu Zhenhui suddenly grabbed my arm, saying, "Come with me, I have many places I want to show you." After getting my consent, he pulled me away from there, but being pulled by him like this made me feel uncomfortable inside, so I struggled to break free from his hand, saying, "Senior brother, please let go." Seeing this, Liu Zhenhui was stunned, then apologetically expressed his regret, saying, "It's my first time having a junior brother, I was too excited. Did I scare you?" After calming down, I also apologized to him, saying I had overreacted. Now wasn't the time to fuss over such things. For future considerations, I had to maintain a friendly relationship with him. Then Liu Zhenhui began telling me about Kong Tong sect's history. After the righteous demonic war, only the sect leaders Xuanhe Palace and the disciples Qingyun Pavilion remained here. But please believe that Kong Tong sect won't decline like this. I heard from the sect leader that during the righteous demonic war, no one expected the demonic cult would first attack the strongest Kong Tong sect. Hearing this, I suddenly interrupted him, because he was slowly walking toward me again. I said, "I can understand senior brother wants to tell me about the history here, but let's keep some distance. I'm a bit shy." Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui became somewhat dejected. Left with no choice, I hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Senior brother, I want to continue hearing you talk about Kong Tong sect's history." Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui instantly became happy, while I looked smug thinking that coaxing a boy the same age just required saying what they wanted to hear. But what I didn't expect was that Liu Zhenhui got carried away and hugged me again. In broad daylight, two boys being so intimate was really too strange. At the same time, the sect leader looked at the gradually diminishing snow and sighed. It seemed Kong Tong Mountain's winter was ending. He remembered that 10 years ago, at this same time, he had found the orphan Liu Zhenhui. After discovering he was a genius at martial arts, he had been wholeheartedly cultivating him, hoping he could restore Kong Tong sect's glory. My arrival happened to allow him to interact early with a male of similar age, and thereby learn methods to prevent men from discovering her female disguise. Back in my room, I lay in bed unable to fall asleep. Today was my first day joining Kong Tong sect, and also a meaningful day. But all of this was ruined by that Liu Zhenhui. You had to know he was Kong Tong sect's peerless genius. A genius among geniuses. In my previous life, his admirers even stirred up a bloody storm in the martial world over him. He was a big shot who could rebuild Kong Tong's sect without batting an eye. But what I couldn't understand was why someone with ability, character, and looks didn't like women. The world said he was obsessed with martial arts. But today I finally understood he was a genuine homosexual. I remembered in my previous life personally seeing those eunuchs without genitals constantly opening new paths in pursuit of pleasure. But I wasn't homosexual. I was a real man and absolutely couldn't let Liu Zhenhui develop inappropriate thoughts about me. At the same time, Liu Zhenhui, who had revealed her female body, also couldn't understand what was wrong with her today, actually making 2 mistakes with the junior brother who just joined. Maybe she was too happy about suddenly having a companion and couldn't help it. Was this the feeling of having a brother? Thinking of this, a blush appeared on Liu Zhenhui's face. She hoped their relationship, in the future, could become intimate enough to put arms around each other's shoulders. The next day, the sun had just risen, and I had already cleaned the kitchen. Although I expected it, I had to say Kong Tong sect was really poor, but compared to my goal of becoming a great hero and marrying 3 or 4 wives, this was nothing. I had to cherish every minute and second to leave a good impression on the sect leader and senior brother. Thinking this, I took time to do a few sets of Kegel exercises again. Just then, Liu Zhenhui suddenly barged in, saying, "Junior brother, are you preparing breakfast alone? I hurriedly responded, this is what I should do. Liu Zhenhui immediately beamed with joy, saying, this is my first time seeing such a diligent child. While agreeing, I secretly sighed that his face was really handsome. If only I could have half his looks. Thinking this, I said, I lost my parents at a young age, so I matured early. If my acting on my own displeased you, I apologize. Liu Zhenhui hurriedly apologized. That's not what I meant. I just feel that we're both orphans, sharing the same fate, so I wanted to help you. This left me speechless. This guy had been apologizing constantly since yesterday. Then Liu Zhenhui offered to help me pick vegetables and cook. It seemed this guy really valued the relationship between senior and junior brothers. But also, in my previous life, Sword Saint Liu Zhenhui only had one junior sister called the First Flower of the Righteous Path, but that was much later. In other words, right now he only had me as a friend. If it was just because of this, then I'd play along with him for now. So I indicated in a friendly manner on the surface that he only needed to give guidance from the side. But inwardly, I was thinking I absolutely couldn't become friends with him, because I only wanted to use his future fame, or use his reputation to attract beautiful women and make them immersed in my charm. Just then, the wooden rack holding the utensils suddenly broke, and the large iron pot on it was falling right toward me. At this critical moment, a hand suddenly supported my waist and tightly gripped my hand. It was Liu Zhenhui who said, "Junior brother, are you okay?" This scene was simply breathtaking, and for a moment it made me blush with shame. At the same time, I smelled a wild flower fragrance from Liu Zhenhui's body, but soon I noticed something wrong, saying, "Senior brother, don't touch any lower." Liu Zhenhui quickly backed away, saying, "This is all a misunderstanding. I absolutely didn't have any improper thoughts about you." I could only respond, "It's fine, don't blush, the atmosphere is getting weird." Looking at the flustered Liu Zhenhui, I felt helpless too, saying, "Senior brother, from now on let me do this rough work myself. Otherwise, if Master sees, he'll definitely scold us angrily for ruining the sex order." Liu Zhenhui agreed, but still helped me clean up. 2 months later, Master was explaining to me what was most important in martial arts. Some said it was internal energy, so they constantly ate various elixirs and medicines. Others said it was external techniques, so they constantly swung their fists. But what was truly powerful was the perfect balance of internal and external techniques. Only this way would martial arts display maximum power, and the foundation of all this was the horse stance. Master said, "So you can't slack off during training, and your posture must be standard." Even without Master saying so, I didn't plan to slack off, because this was also to enhance my stamina and strengthen my body. For future pleasures between men and women, this hardship was worth it. In the past, when I lost my genitals and became a eunuch, even desperately practicing external techniques couldn't shake off the androgynous feeling. That was all because I practiced that damned secret manual, the Sunflower Manual. Thinking of this, I became increasingly angry, and secretly vowed that in this life I would definitely live the life of an elite man. Just then, Liu Zhenhui suddenly came looking for me, saying, "Master said today's training is over and asked me to come get you." I didn't realize it was already so late, but for me this was still far from enough to be tireless in the drinking and revelry I longed for. The most important thing was cardiopulmonary endurance. So at nightfall, I came alone to a secluded grove. If Master discovered I was secretly training, he would definitely scold me severely. But for that desire in my heart, I still recklessly began my late-night exercise. But before I ran far, I discovered a familiar figure. It was Liu Zhenhui. He scared me, and as a result, I carelessly fell. I said, "Senior brother, why are you here?" Liu Zhenhui scolded, "I saw you sneaking out of Qingyun Pavilion, so I followed. I didn't expect you were secretly training. Master said training beyond physical limits will only harm yourself. I can't watch you continue like this." I was extremely annoyed. If I had 1 year's worth of internal energy, perhaps I could have detected Senior Brother's movement earlier through energy sensing. And if he reported to Master now, this would definitely be a major crisis that would drain my energy. So I had to lie. I'm doing this because I have no choice. Because I'm not as naturally gifted as Senior Brother. I'm just a fool. But I don't want to lose to anyone, and I don't want to be driven out by Master to wander the streets. If I don't train hard, I won't even have the qualification to stand beside Senior Brother. So Senior Brother, can you please not tell Master about this? Under my emotional performance, Liu Zhenhui fell silent, which also reminded him of his childhood experience of being abandoned, only because he had been seen as a monster since childhood. It wasn't until Master's appearance that hope came to him, and made him understand that he too was a person standing under this sky. Just like that, he followed Master up Kongpong Mountain. Thinking of this, he hugged me tightly and said, "I'm sorry, Junior Brother. I didn't know you had such difficulties. But rest assured, Master definitely won't drive you out just because you learn slowly. As long as you enter Kongtong sect, no matter what you do, Master and I will always stand by your side. So when you feel tired, you can rely on me like this." At this moment, I felt terrible again. Did he have to hug me to say these things? No. My first hug should have been dedicated to an absolutely beautiful woman. So I tried to break free, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't break free. Damn, Liu Zhenhui, you've taken away my purity that I'd guarded for decades. Soon I noticed something off. Why was that part of him soft? At this moment, Liu Zhenhui finally released me, saying, "Junior brother, do you feel better now?" Looking at his sincere expression, I felt some pity instead. I didn't expect Lu Zhenhui, called the heavenly martial body, actually had hermaphroditic developmental disorder. Although that part of him was soft, I was absolutely certain Lu Zhenhui was male, because this was the result investigated by the Palace Intelligence Organization in my previous life. After some more time passed, Master told me the foundation training was complete. From now on, I could reduce basic training and start focusing on cultivating internal energy. Lu Zhenhui happily congratulated me, but I couldn't be happy. Although being able to learn internal energy was good, Lu Zhenhui's harassment during this period was becoming unbearable. Thinking this, I shook my head. Forget it, there were more important issues than Lu Zhenhui now. Then I told Master I didn't want to reduce basic training, because most people, after training external techniques to the point of maintaining body shape, would focus their energy on internal techniques, swordsmanship, and footwork. But I couldn't do that. I said, I'm mediocre. Only by putting in more effort than others can I assist senior brother in rebuilding the sect. Although this method was inefficient, when encountering the same technique, the side with greater strength would have the advantage. In reality, what I was thinking was that only external techniques could develop the perfect physique that attracted women. Otherwise, with my current face, no matter how much I tried to please women, I couldn't change the fact that I wasn't as handsome as Liu Zhenhui. So a perfect physique and enduring stamina were key to whether I could be happy in the future. Then I firmly requested, Master, please allow me to continue training external techniques. This left Master quite astonished. He thought, has Zexiu already realized his talent is ordinary? Although this idea would be the wrong answer for those prestigious sects, it was the optimal solution for rebuilding the declining Kongtong sect. So he handed me a secret manual and said, take it. This is the mental cultivation method for the Lesser Yang technique. This martial world is ruthless to those without talent, but as long as you were willing to work hard, you can definitely become someone remarkable. So I'm allowing you to train both internal and external techniques now. I'll now teach you the Lesser Yang technique. Hearing this, I happily agreed. Soon after everything was prepared, Master began transmitting true energy to me and had me move the energy according to the instructions just given. At this moment, I could clearly feel a warm energy gathering at my heart. This was a sensation I never experienced in my previous life. It wasn't like the bone-chilling cold of the sunflower manual, but rather like a gentle sun flowing through my blood vessels. Was this Yang energy? Then Master congratulated me on learning internal energy. Feeling the changes different from my previous life, I secretly sighed. I'm finally no longer a eunuch. Time came to evening. Lu Zhenhui found Master and stated his intention. Master, I also want to increase my external training time. After all, as senior brother, personally guiding junior brother is also my responsibility. Hearing this, Master's face showed a trace of joy, saying, so you finally know how to cultivate affection. Do as you think. For you, these are all things you need to learn. After Lu Zhenhui left, Master looked out the window alone and couldn't help sighing. Zhenhui and Zexiu were so young yet working hard to revitalize Kongtong sect. This time, the late Master's wish could finally be fulfilled. At the same time, many animals bitten to death mysteriously appeared at the foot of Kongtong Mountain. Soon, a giant python with 3 eyes passed by the corpses. The next day, a household looked at their destroyed livestock pen in confusion. What was going on? These livestock were supposed to be taken to the market today, but now they had all disappeared. Then, unable to catch his breath, he fainted from anger. It turned out the old farmer had planned to sell the livestock and donate the money to Kongtong sect. Even though his family was poor, he wanted to help Kongtong sect as much as possible, because this had been his dream all along. However, his grandson was very puzzled by his grandfather's actions, saying, "You're sick now. Why are you still thinking about doing this?" After saying this, he ran out angrily. Grandfather didn't take his words to heart. Because he hadn't seen Kongtong sect in its prime, it was the #1 sect. For him back then, it was a place that planted hope and dreams. But after the demonic cult's invasion, that admired Kongtong sect was forgotten by people. At the same time, I was also working hard training for my dream. Feeling the yang energy accumulating in my dantian, I was secretly pleased. This sensation was simply wonderful. However, when using the lesser yang technique, I always felt something strange. Was it because I practiced the sunflower manual in my previous life? Master said before, the pattern representing our sect is the reversed taiji. This symbolized the reversed yin and yang taught by the founding masters. It meant water flowing above and fire burning below. In summary, reversed yin and yang creating ultimate life. It made ignorant people think our sect's martial arts resembled demonic techniques that violated natural laws, so they looked down on us. But Kongtong sect's mission had always been to uphold justice and eliminate demonic cults. Thinking of this, I felt fortunate. Good thing I joined Kongtong sect. Using evil to counter evil was real man's martial arts. Just then, a sound suddenly interrupted my thoughts. The little boy shouted at the top of his lungs, "If this really is the #1 sect that values righteousness, please help us." Hearing the sound, Lu Zhenhui also came out of his room. After we met the little boy, he told us everything about his ordeal. I was very confused, saying, "Your family's livestock was stolen. Shouldn't you report to the authorities?" The little boy spoke his mind. "I feel this doesn't seem like something a person would do. Even if stealing, there was no need to destroy the livestock pen. Those livestock were all grandfather's hard work over many years. Grandfather planned to sell them to support Kong Tong's sect, but now not only is the dream gone, he's also fallen sick from anger. So please help us." Liu Zhenhui and I ultimately agreed to go with him and take a look, but when we saw the scene of the destroyed livestock pen, I was shocked. This seemed like traces of a snake crawling, and it was a rare giant python. Then I asked Liu Zhenhui if he'd heard of any giant python existing at Kong Tong's sect. Liu Zhenhui denied. If there were dangerous animals on Kong Tong Mountain, Master would promptly deal with them. This made me fall into thought again. Kong Tong Mountain was a Taoist holy land, a spiritual mountain. Due to the existence of spiritual energy, ordinary animals might undergo genetic mutations. Since Liu Zhenhui hadn't heard of it, it meant this giant python appeared recently. Thinking this, the corners of my mouth couldn't help rising. If I ate such a large python, my stamina would definitely improve greatly. So I privately agreed to this matter. But Liu Zhenhui looked worried, saying, "Is it really okay to hide this from Master?" I said, "Kong Tong Mountain residents are seeking help. We can't refuse, especially such a filial child. If it really was done by a giant python, let's solve it together before more damage occurs." Liu Zhenhui finally agreed to this. After sending the little boy home, Liu Zhenhui and I followed the traces on the ground to track the python, but Liu Zhenhui was still uneasy about acting privately while hiding it from Master. I persuaded again, "Senior brother, don't worry. We're doing a good deed." After comforting Liu Zhenhui, I was suddenly startled because the python's traces disappeared here. At this moment, Liu Zhenhui behind me suddenly shouted, "Danger!" The next second, the python attacked from above and bit me in one mouthful. I was secretly pleased. As long as I survived this crisis, not only could I enhance my stamina, maybe I could also find Kong Tong's ultimate techniques like in my previous life. Then Liu Zhenhui rushed over with his sword to save me. But after one strike, he was completely shocked. Because the python's scales were too hard, this attack didn't cause any damage at all. Instead, he was fiercely knocked away by its tail swing. Seeing Liu Zhenhui couldn't be relied upon, I grabbed a wooden stick and stabbed it toward the python's eye. With a painful wail, I also took the opportunity to pull away. Only then did I realize I'd been poisoned by the snake. After Liu Zhenhui rushed over, I hurriedly reminded him to be careful, because now we were being targeted by the enraged python. Liu Zhenhui told me the python's body was very hard, and its attack speed was also very fast. We had to find its weakness and kill it with one strike. Hearing this, I hurriedly thought of countermeasures. The current Liu Zhenhui hadn't grown up yet, and was no match for the python at all. I had foundation from internal energy in my previous life, so even poisoned by the snake, I could hold on for a while. But if Liu Zhenhui also got poisoned, we'd die here today. So I had to create an attack opportunity for him. So I took off my clothes and said, "Senior brother, I'll attract its attention. You use the lesser yang technique to enhance the sword's destructive power, then take the opportunity to finish it." Liu Zhenhui was astonished hearing this, saying, "You're already injured. How can you?" Before he finished, I rushed forward in one swift move. Every creature had weaknesses, let alone a python blind in its right eye. So I used the blind spot on its right side to dodge back and forth. Soon I wrapped my belt around its head. Seeing the timing was right, I quickly signaled Liu Zhenhui to act. The next second, Liu Zhenhui circulated his internal energy and attacked with his sword. With just one strike, he directly cut off the python's head. Liu Zhenhui never expected the neck was the python's weakness. Did junior brother know all along and deliberately guide me to cut off the neck? But before he could think more, he found I had already collapsed limply on the ground. At this moment, I only felt my whole body burning hot. It seemed the medicine immortal was right. Viper venom had strong yang energy, but this might not be bad. As long as I circulated energy to remove the poison and absorb the yang energy, maybe my stamina would improve. But the next second I noticed something wrong. Why wasn't my body listening to me? Liu Zhenhui immediately picked me up upon seeing this. With teary eyes full of guilt, he said, "It's all because of me that junior brother became like this. I must save him." Thinking this, he gently laid me on the ground, then began sucking at my wound with his mouth. I suddenly opened my eyes wide in shock. "Wait, my chastity!" So I kept struggling and shouting. Liu Zhenhui thought my tongue was also poisoned, so he kindly helped me suck again. This left me completely dumbfounded. "Liu Zhenhui, you dead homosexual!" A moment later, we began roasting the delicious snake meat. But thinking of the scene just now made me want to vomit involuntarily. At this time, Liu Zhenhui, who was checking my pulse, told me my body was fine now. But what made him curious was how I thought of roasting and eating the snake, because this was his first time eating snake. I told him snake meat was very nourishing food, not only highly nutritious but also could replenish stamina. After filling our stomachs, we followed the python's tracks and found its lair, a cave located halfway up the mountain. Liu Zhenhui told me he could feel very strong spiritual energy here. This made me secretly sigh that his energy sensing was strong. In my previous life, he probably found this place relying on this ability. Then we entered the cave together. Liu Zhenhui guessed this was the legendary Guangchang Broken Cave. The so-called Guangchang Broken Cave referred to the place where Kongtong sect's ancestors cultivated. Legend had it that 300 years ago, Kongtong sect's #1 person in the world ascended to immortality in such a place. Hearing this, I couldn't help licking my lips. There must be many elixirs here to replenish stamina. Just then, Liu Zhenhui suddenly discovered a box of elixirs scattered on the ground. This made me certain the python earlier must have eaten these elixirs, and after fully absorbing the spiritual energy, transformed into a giant python. Soon we reached the end of the cave. Looking at the magnificent architecture, I couldn't help exclaiming in admiration. At this time, the secret manuals on the table caught Liu Zhenhui's attention. 3 Yin True Formula, 7 Kill Sword, Mysterious Heaven Sword, Jianyang Finger, etc. They were all secret manuals long lost by Kongtong sect. This made Liu Zhenhui even more certain this was where ancient masters cultivated, the Guangchang Broken Cave. Then he happily shared this good news with me. I said excitedly, this means the cave must still hide many treasures. How about we split up? After getting Liu Zhenhui's agreement, I was the first to sprint away. I couldn't waste any more time. I had to find the elixir before Liu Zhenhui, because absorbing the elixir one step earlier meant having the strength to protect my purity and getting closer to my wish. My hard work paid off. I finally found a elixir. On the other side, Liu Zhenhui also found a hot spring. But just as he was about to go forward and investigate, my scream caught his attention. Liu Zhenhui thought I was in danger and immediately rushed over, but the scene before his eyes left him shocked. This was Maitreya holy water. It was formed by extreme yin energy gathering over 1,000 years and was the world's top elixir. The extreme yin energy contained within was entirely harmful to male stamina with no benefits. At this time, Liu Zhenhui came forward with concern. Junior brother, are you okay? I thought something big happened. But for me, this was almost a major tragedy, because once a man's body accumulated yin energy, his body shape would gradually transform into a woman's. If I absorbed the Maitreya holy water, all my previous efforts would be wasted. After narrowly escaping, I couldn't help shedding tears of excitement, but it was too wasteful not to use such good elixir. So I calmed my emotions and suggested to Liu Zhenhui, senior brother, there's so much Maitreya holy water, enough to open a person's ren and do meridians. How about you take this elixir? Liu Zhenhui immediately refused. You discovered it first, you should take it. I continued patiently. Using such top-grade elixir on a rookie like me would be too wasteful. But if we split it, the medicine's effects would also decrease. So for revitalizing Kongtong sect, you should take it alone. Liu Zhenhui hesitated repeatedly, but still disagreed, saying, your aptitude is too poor, you need elixir more. I can reach superior realm through training, so you should take the medicine and stand together with me in the future. Hearing this, I was dumbfounded. This blockhead actually took my previous lies seriously. In that case, I could only use my trump card. So I slowly pulled his hand up, saying, senior brother, what if I'm asking you? I want to give the elixir to you. I'm doing all this for you. Right after I rescued Xu Xiaolin from the burning kitchen, she said with a face full of self-blame, I have to go put out the fire. I immediately said, what matters now isn't the kitchen, it's you. You need to remember that you're what's most important. Upon hearing this, Xu Xiaolin's eyes widened instantly, and a blush involuntarily rose to her face. Liu Zhenhui, who had rushed over, saw this scene and immediately dropped his water bucket. He said, junior brother, why are you holding Miss Xu? I was startled and said, I rescued Miss Xu and had no choice but to do something improper. Trust me, I absolutely didn't do anything shameless. Seeing me so eager to clear things up, a blush also rose to Liu Zhenhui's face. This left me completely confused. I was just stating facts, so what was wrong with him? At that moment, I suddenly thought of something. Could the rumors from my past life be true? That the reason Liu Zhenhui was so cold toward women was because he had an unspeakable relationship with junior sister Xu Xiaolin. At this thought, I was utterly shocked. I almost let my guard down. I had to separate these two no matter what. So I walked up to Liu Zhenhui and said, thanks to senior brother's massage, my body feels much better now. Let's quickly deal with the kitchen situation, then go train together. Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui was overjoyed and said, really? That's great. Seeing this, I felt helpless. If I didn't want to lose to my handsome senior brother, I could only become an outstanding martial artist. This was the first time showing the reformed Kongtong sect to the world, so I had to change everyone's perception of the Kongtong sect. The scene shifted. Black Dragon Gang leader Wei Tianming held a meeting about the martial arts competition ceremony. At this moment, an elder said, why should we accept a challenge from the insignificant Kongtong sect? Another bearded man chimed in, exactly, please give the order and let me cut those arrogant fellows into ribbons. Wei Tianming signaled everyone to be quiet. Then he announced accepting the Kongtong sect's martial arts competition proposal. The elders were all puzzled by this. Wei Tianming said, it's impossible for the mere Kongtong sect to challenge the Black Dragon Gang, but the Kongtong sect's proposal works in our favor. Saying this, he slammed the table and stood up. He said, if we beat the Kongtong sect through righteous means, then the Seaman family can't interfere with our affairs. Hearing this, the elders said, the gang leader is truly wise, so who should we send? Wei Tianming thought for a moment and said, since it's a battle between rising stars, let's leave this to the young gang leader. The scene shifted to the Black Dragon Gang's training grounds. Black Dragon Gang young leader Wei Xiaolian was staring ahead with a stern expression. The next second, several burly men charged at her with swords. However, Wei Xiaolian ended the fight easily, with just one thrust. She said, a bunch of idiots? Is this all you've got? Just then, a subordinate suddenly came to report, young gang leader. The gang leader has arranged a task for you. The time came to late night. I was sitting cross-legged outside the door, meditating. At this time, Wei Xiaolian also arrived on orders and said, how shabby. They actually sent me to a sect like beggars. Hurry up and call out your sect leader. Hearing this, I slowly opened my eyes and thought, finally here. Seeing I didn't respond, Wei Xiaolian said somewhat impatiently, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and call someone. Perhaps because she'd been a rising star of the evil faction since childhood, she acted very arrogant and rude. I spoke directly, what if I refuse? Hearing this, Wei Xiaolian said angrily, how dare you disobey my orders? Seeing this, I revealed a meaningful smile. As expected, this kind of person with strong pride couldn't stand provocation, so I continued to provoke, a mere young gang leader ordering around the leader of an upright sect. I really don't know where you got the courage. If you apologize now, I'll go easy on you during the competition. Wei Xiaolian laughed heartily and said, Kong Tong sect beating the Black Dragon Gang? You're really joking. My eyes turned cold as I said, if you're so confident, how about we make a bet during the competition? Wei Xiaolian asked me why we should bet. I sneered dismissively, are you scared? This made Wei Xiaolian furious. Seeing this, I provoked again. A Black Dragon Gang that doesn't dare bet with me is just like a nest of earthworms that can't get hard. Seeing the timing was right, I immediately proposed the terms, if we lose, I'll be your manservant. The angry Wei Xiaolian immediately agreed, saying, if I lose, I'll call you Big Brother for the rest of my life. Hearing this, I licked the corner of my mouth evilly. From Big Brother to darling, then from darling to husband, just thinking about it felt wonderful. Right after I got into an argument with Wei Xiaolian. Soon after hearing the commotion, Master came out. He said, are you the one the Black Dragon Gang sent to deliver the message? Wei Xiaolian said, I'm Black Dragon Gang young leader Wei Xiaolian. This is the reply letter the gang leader asked me to give you. To my surprise, she was actually quite polite. Was she deliberately provoking me earlier? At this moment, Master opened the letter. In half a month, hold a competition between 3 rising stars of the second generation at Huading County. This surprised Master quite a bit, and he asked, you're willing to accept our competition without any other conditions? Wei Xiaolian said, yes. The lower 5 gates will be the Black Dragon Gang's witness. Please have the Kong Tong sect find an arbiter as well. Hearing this, Master was silent for a moment and said, don't worry. We plan to ask the Seaman family to be our arbiter. As she was leaving, Wei Xiaolian suddenly gave me a sharp look. I responded with a silly face. This made Wei Xiaolian furious with embarrassment. Then she disappeared from the spot. Just then, Liu Zhenhui ran over and said, Master, what was that commotion just now? Master told him the Black Dragon Gang had sent a letter and instructed him to also deliver a letter to the Seaman family. But they didn't know the Seaman family didn't like this competition, and senior brother might get bullied going there. So I said, this trip to the Seaman family will be senior brother's first venture into the martial world, and as his junior brother, I want to accompany him. Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui was overjoyed and said, you really think of your senior brother. As he spoke, he couldn't help but pull me into his arms and said, thank you so much. The next day, after packing our luggage, sitting by the gate, I couldn't help but feel excited, finally taking the first step into the martial world. At this time, Xu Xiaolin walked over looking troubled. She said, young Master Li, I heard you're going out. I haven't had a chance to thank you for yesterday. Thank you for saving me in the kitchen. After the inn incident, this is the second time you've saved me. Each time my incompetence causes you trouble, I'm sorry. I said, don't feel guilty. I also received a lot of care from you when I was injured. You always work so hard, so you don't need to blame yourself for being useless. Saying this, I placed my hand on her head to comfort her. I said, if you want to change your destiny, then officially join the Kong Tong sect. After you learn martial arts, you might become the number 1 woman. So you need to value yourself. Wanting to become strong starts with valuing yourself, understand? Xu Xiaolin gently nodded. She said, although I've never thought about these things, since you're the one saying it, I'll definitely keep it in my heart. Just then, a voice suddenly interrupted the two of them. Junior brother, what are you doing? Hurry up and come out. This made my mind race. He really knew how to ruin the atmosphere. Before leaving, Master reminded, this is your first venture into the martial world. You must be careful. Later, passing through Huading County's market, seeing the candy at the stalls, Liu Zhenhui stopped. He said, junior brother, let's have some candy. This left me speechless. We're not children anymore. How could he still be so happy about candy? But what left me even more speechless was just his expression while eating candy. Actually attracted the admiration of several women. But compared to this, I never let down my guard, because ever since entering Huading County, someone had been following us. Although he had no martial arts skills, his movements were exceptionally careful and agile. If he wasn't a thief, then maybe he was connected to the lower 5 gates, was this Chi Siyue's doing? This wasn't good news. If it was true, I'd have to turn this around and use this opportunity well. Then I seized the moment and caught the person on the spot. I said, "You little thief actually dared to steal my wallet. I won't hold it against you." Then I drew my sword and said, "Someone must be behind you. Now take me to that person." Soon, under that person's guidance, we arrived at an inn. This made me vigilant. This place looked like an ordinary inn on the outside, but it was too quiet. I didn't see any guests either. Just then, a man said, "The inn isn't open yet. What do you need?" I asked, "Is this the Lower Five Gates lair in Huading County?" The man shrugged and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." But the next second, I directly threw a copper coin at him, as I expected. I said, "Impressive moves. You really are a martial artist." Seeing he was exposed, the man stopped pretending. Then he pulled out a thin, long weapon ready to counterattack. Seeing this, I was startled. This was a blowgun for poison needles. Getting hit would be very dangerous. Fortunately, Lu Zhenhui reacted quickly. Before he could attack, Lu knocked him down on the spot with one punch. Hearing this commotion, 3 more men ran out from the inn. Lu Zhenhui faced the challenge head-on again. His powerful strength even blasted the scene with rolling smoke. Seeing this, I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. I knew this guy was strong, but I didn't expect him to be this strong. After Lu Zhenhui knocked everyone down, to prevent the situation from escalating further, I signaled him to leave the rest to me. Then I grabbed the steward by the ear and questioned, "Why did you make things worse? Not only did you have people follow us, you suddenly used poison needles on us. My senior brother was scared by you." The steward quickly apologized. I said, "If you want to apologize, take me to see your boss." Just then, a voice suddenly entered my mind. "Young hero Lee, stop bullying the poor steward. Why not come to the private room on the 2nd floor and chat with me?" Hearing this, I raised my guard. This small-town brothel inn actually had an expert who could use voice transmission, and she didn't call senior brother, only me. Was this also Chi Siyue's instruction? With these questions in mind, I headed straight to the 2nd floor. But when Liu Zhenhui learned I was going to meet with the Lower Five Gates expert alone, he refused on the spot. He said, "Junior brother, this is too dangerous. This might be a Lower Five Gates trap." I said, "Don't worry. Let's take this opportunity to confirm what they're planning." Seeing my mind was made up, Lu Zhenhui stopped trying to dissuade me. He said, "Junior brother, you must be careful. I'll wait here for you." Soon I arrived at the room the person mentioned. But before I could knock, the door opened automatically. Then a seductive voice sounded, "I'm so happy to meet you here." After seeing that person's appearance clearly, my face couldn't help but flush. Although I already knew it would be a brothel woman, I didn't expect it to be the #1 beauty Lin Yuexiang. All men came from far away and even went bankrupt just to drink and chat with her. But the problem was she wasn't an ordinary brothel woman. Her true identity was the second persona of Chi Siyue, the #1 person of the evil faction. Although she said it was a chance encounter, I knew she called me here because of her stubbornness. And after seeing me take a seat, Lin Yuexiang's face unconsciously flushed as she thought, "I finally caught you. Although you passed the flower-faced fox sword's test, it's because you're a pervert who gets aroused anywhere. I can't like this kind of man. Let me test you again this time." If he couldn't resist Lin Yuexiang's temptation, I'd make him pay a painful price. So she first removed her veil, then she used her beauty charm skills specifically to seduce the opposite sex. Then she revealed a confident smile. Her beauty charm had already reached a first-rate level that made the opposite sex lose all reason. As the beauty charm continued to spread, my body also gradually began to heat up. Seeing the timing was right, Lin Yuexiang decided to test me. So she stroked my hand and asked, "Young hero Li, why did you come to the Lower Five Gates?" I said, "That's two." But just when she thought I'd fallen for it, I directly brushed both her hands away and said, "To ask some things clearly." Seeing this, Lin Yuexiang was shocked. The beauty charm actually had no effect on him. At this time, I continued, "The Lower Five Gates followed Kong Tong sect disciples. Are you planning to sell our intelligence to the Black Dragon Gang? If the Black Dragon Gang knew this intelligence, they might send assassins to kill us. Then the Black Dragon Gang wouldn't have to participate in the competition and could eliminate the Kong Tong sect, right?" Although I was full of complaints, I knew the Black Dragon Gang couldn't possibly stoop to asking the Lower Five Gates for help, so the truth didn't matter. Since she showed a flaw, I had to seize the opportunity. No matter how powerful Lin Yuexiang's beauty charm was, it was useless on me, although my body was young. My spirit was the same as my past life, having reached the profound realm, and Lin Yuexiang was just a small brothel woman, completely unable to shake my rationality. Then I said, "Having people follow us and using beauty charm on me, this is too offensive." Lin Yuexiang said, "The competition has already caused heated discussion. Our sect that lives on intelligence had to take action. This was indeed my mistake, and it has nothing to do with the Black Dragon Gang. Please don't misunderstand." But she couldn't understand. The smarter someone was, the more easily they should be enchanted by her beauty charm. But why didn't it work on him? With doubt, she asked, "Young hero Lee, can you really not feel any feminine charm from me? I said, "You're a beautiful woman, and the reason I'm unmoved is because I have no romantic feelings for you at all." Hearing this, Lin Yuexiang's face immediately flushed. She thought, he's not seduced by me. Is he really not a man controlled by desire? Since he passed the test, I should give him a reward. At this time, I continued, since you truly regret it, I'll forgive your rudeness, but we Kong Tong sect have a proposal, and I hope you can convey this to the lower 5 gates. And my proposal was related to this competition in the Seaman family. At the same time, inside the Seaman family, the steward conveyed to the family head of Seaman the news that the Black Dragon Gang accepted the competition, but he worried that if the Black Dragon Gang beat the Kong Tong sect, the Seaman family would have no excuse to attack the Black Dragon Gang. The family head of Seaman Xuantian said, "Don't worry, everyone is watching the Seaman family's reaction. Without the Seaman family's agreement, the Kong Tong sect definitely won't find a arbiter." After several days of travel, Liu Zhenhui and I finally arrived. Looking at the lively, bustling market, Liu Zhenhui was full of admiration, and the common people here also recognized our identity from our clothing, saying it seemed the rumors were true. I heard the Kong Tong sect is going to face off against the Black Dragon Gang directly, and apparently they found long-lost martial arts. Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui was quite surprised and said, "I didn't expect people here would know about us too, but I had expected this. Although the Kong Tong sect wasn't what it used to be, it was still the sect with the longest history here." Moments later, we finally reached our destination, the Simon family. At this time, the guard in charge of announcing visitors suddenly asked, "Are you also here to visit our family? Do you have an advance appointment?" I said, "This is a personal letter from the Kong Tong sect leader. We've come to discuss the competition with the family head of Simon in detail." However, the guard didn't care at all and said, "No matter what sect you're from, if you don't have an advance appointment, just obediently go queue up over there." Seeing this, Liu Zhenhui said, "Junior brother, let's quickly go queue, otherwise we won't get in today." However, I stopped him directly. I said, "Don't worry, leave this to me." So I immediately scolded the guard. The letter states this concerns a major martial world matter. You're just a guard, yet you dare ignore the Kong Tong letter. Seeing my tough attitude, the guard's tone softened, but only with an advance appointment can. I interrupted, "Can you bear the consequences of your actions, causing a negative impact on the entire martial world?" This made the guard panic immediately. He said, "Wait, I'll go ask the head steward right now." Seeing this scene, I revealed a triumphant smile. Soon after, a man walked out from inside the gate. He said, "Welcome, I'm Imin Steward Simon Feng. I apologize for the guard's rudeness earlier. Please, both young heroes come inside." After arriving at the arranged room, I asked directly, "When can we meet with the family head of Seaman?" The steward politely said, "The family head is very busy, so I can't rashly tell you the time." I could see that although he was polite to us, like the guard, he wanted us to keep waiting. We came to negotiate. We couldn't let them suppress us before we even started. So I crossed my legs and said, "Please help me convey a message to the family head of Seaman. If he doesn't see me immediately, he'll miss a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Hearing this, the steward was stunned. Then he readily agreed to my request. After the steward left, Liu Zhenhui asked curiously, "Junior brother, what once-in-a-lifetime opportunity are you talking about?" To this, I directly changed the subject. I said, "Senior brother, now that we have free time, let's properly nourish ourselves at this rich family's place." But just as I was eating heartily, the steward rushed in. He said, "The family head says he wants to see you immediately." Soon, upon meeting Shimin Xuantian, we were about to introduce ourselves, but we were sternly interrupted by Shimin Xuantian. "Stop with the useless talk. Why do you want to compete with the Black Dragon Gang?" I said, "Of course it's to re-establish the righteous spirit of the martial world." Shimin Xuantian said, "Since you plan to do so, why did you join forces with the lower 5 gates to spread rumors?" Hearing this, I immediately played dumb. "I have no idea what you're talking about," Shimin Xuantian said angrily. "Recently, rumors from who knows where are spreading rapidly. People are elevating the competition between Kong Tong sect and Black Dragon Gang to a battle between righteous and evil factions, and whichever side wins will dominate the martial world. At the same time, the 9 sects and 1 gang and the 6 great sects all received letters inviting them to be arbiter. Is all this just coincidence?" Hearing this, I was secretly delighted. Chi really worked efficiently. It turned out my previous proposal to the lower 5 gates was precisely to have them help spread rumors and make sure everyone knew about the competition, then send letters to all major sects to be arbiter. Lin Yuexiang said, "You want to make things big, so the Shiman family has no choice but to step up as arbiter. But we lower 5 gates never do business at a loss. Even if I accept this proposal, the Supreme Gate Master might not." However, I was prepared. I said, "This is the payment. Please pass it to the Supreme Gate Master." Lin Yuexiang became interested and said, "Although it's a bit small, a night pearl with such high purity is truly rare." Now both Qingqing sect and Ma sect were willing to be arbiter, and if the Ximen family, the number 1 sect, didn't agree, it would be too embarrassing. At this moment, Shimin Xuantian directly stated his speculation. The lower 5 gates is best at spreading these kinds of rumors. Those who profit most from this rumor are the Kong Tong sect. Kong Tong sect and lower 5 gates join forces, right? However, I said fearlessly, "Do you have proof? If it's just speculation, that's too unreasonable." After saying this, this, I revealed an evil smile. Supreme Gate Master Chi Cue personally took action, so there definitely wouldn't be any traces left. As expected, Simen Xuantian said, there's indeed no proof, but spreading that this competition is a battle between good and evil. If you lose, not just the Black Dragon Gang, but the entire righteous faction will be in crisis. Saying this, his right fist suddenly clenched. The next second, he violently shattered the table. He said, since you want to compete, then let me personally test whether you can beat the Black Dragon Gang. Also, as a martial world senior, I need to let you know there's always someone better out there. Simen Xuantian was a transformation realm master who had perfected both the Taiwan Overlord power and Qinchuan Overlord sword techniques. Now he was only using 10% of his chi. Yet my body felt like it was being crushed by a hydraulic press. Could he be trying to kill us? In the midst of speculation, Liu Zhenhui actually struggled to stand up with all his might. He said, please stop saying things that disrespect the Kong Tong sect. Even though the Kong Tong sect has declined, we haven't lost the ability to deal with evil and wicked people. Seeing this, I was amazed. Senior brother actually withstood Shimin Xuantian's chi wave, truly a genius. And Shimin Xuantian was also somewhat surprised. He said, not bad strength, but do you think this alone can earn my approval? Saying this, he swung his left fist downward. The next second, a powerful chi wave pressed down from above our heads. The terrifying force shattered the ground. To this, I couldn't help but curse inwardly, Yimin Xuantian, this madman. Is he trying to crush us to death? Even senior brother can't withstand such powerful force. And Liu Zhenhui was trying hard to think of a countermeasure. How could he break through this chi wave? Lesser Yang technique, 3 Yin true formula, reverse circulation blood technique, dual harmony divine skill. At this time, Simen Xuantian said, where's that momentum from before? If you keep spacing out, you'll die today. However, Liu Zhenhui wasn't affected. There had to be a way. Kong Tong sect martial arts could produce tremendous explosive power when reversing yin and yang. But did Kong Tong sect martial arts only have the principle of strength? Thinking this, he suddenly remembered the encounter in the cave. The martial arts uniquely created by the mixed origin Sword Emperor weren't just that. Some parts of Kong Tong sect martial arts resembled demonic arts, but essentially they were means to achieve yin-yang reversal. The longer one practiced dual harmony divine skill, the more flexible aspects it had. So he suddenly realized, yes, Kong Tong sect martial arts didn't only have the principle of strength, but rather being powerful yet flexible, with mixed origin as the center, combined with the principles of dual harmony divine skill and reverse circulation blood technique. So he immediately gathered a ball of air. The next second, he struck towards Shimin Xuantian, and after seeing Shimin Xuantian suppressing chi dispersed, I was amazed. Senior brother actually created a new martial art in such a short time. Shimin Xuantian was equally shocked. Could this kid have the heavenly martial body? At this time, Liu Zhenhui suddenly said, do you still think we're acting with reckless courage? However, Simen Xuantian was talking to himself, heavenly martial body. That cunning old man was actually hiding a little tiger. Saying this, his attitude changed instantly. I'm looking forward to the competition between Kong Tong sect and Black Dragon Gang. The time came to evening. Shimin Xuantian stood alone in the pavilion thinking, the Kong Tong sect disciple has the heavenly martial body. Becoming the world's #1 in the future is only a matter of time. Is the Kong Tong sect really going to rise again? However, as the province's #1 sect, the Shimin family absolutely cannot lose. Just then, a call suddenly came from behind, and after seeing who it was, he immediately revealed a gentle smile. Simen Xuantian's youngest daughter, Shimin Qing, has said, I heard the Kong Tong sect disciples came. How are they? Simen Xuantian said, different from what I expected, they have backbone and I agreed to their competition with the Black Dragon Gang. Shimin Qing said, worthy of the Kong Tong sect I admire. Have they already left? Shimin Xuantian said, because it's too late, they're currently resting at the guest house. Hearing this, Shimen Qing eagerly ran out. Pioneers of the righteous faction, the Kong Tong sect disciples who stopped the Great Demonic War, must be incredibly handsome. On the other side, I was training hard outside the guest house. Thanks to senior brother today, otherwise, Shimin Xuantian would definitely use this as an excuse to cancel the competition. However, thinking about how Liu Zhenhui could instantly create new martial arts, I couldn't help but mobilize my internal energy. But that thing of mine stood up again. What on earth was the problem? Just then, there was suddenly a sound from behind, so I quickly curled up. Is that senior brother? Didn't you already go to rest? But when I saw who it was clearly, that person screamed loudly, you pervert, are actually a Kong Tong sect disciple, and I immediately recognized her as Shimin family's youngest daughter, Shimin Qing. I didn't expect to encounter this woman late at night. Before Xu Xiaolin appeared, Shimin Qing was called the #1 beauty. Not only did she secretly admire the Kong Tong sect, she later became Liu Zhenhui's admirer. But Liu Zhenhui didn't accept her love, causing her to turn dark and become an extremely temperamental person. At this time, she said angrily, carrying the Kong Tong sect name while practicing shameless techniques. How can you do such disgraceful things? Therefore, I immediately immediately straightened up and demanded she take back those words. But this earned me another scolding. You should first figure out how to deal with that disgraceful thing. After that thing went down, I said, you also understand martial world rules. Secretly watching others practice martial arts is taboo. Ximen Qingge immediately retorted, shameless, you actually have the nerve to say you were practicing. I said seriously, true masters should be coordinated inside and out. Where did I go wrong? She said, you let a woman see things she shouldn't see. I wish I could hold you accountable right now. This made me somewhat annoyed. Today I had to teach her a lesson, so I immediately proposed, since our opinions are so difficult to reconcile. Then let's use the martial world way to distinguish right from wrong and pursue responsibility. Ximen Qingge said confidently, are you challenging me to a duel? I also want to let the whole martial world know about your rudeness. Seeing the timing was right, I immediately proposed the terms, how about the loser becomes the winner's servant? Ximen Qingge readily agreed, saying, I won't show mercy even if you cry during the duel. Looking at Ximen Qingge's departing figure, I revealed a smile. I could use the opportunity of dueling with her to put the Ximen family under the Kongtong sect's feet. More importantly, having an additional maid would be simply wonderful. The scene shifted, Liu Zhenhui and I embarked on the journey back to our sect. This trip not only solved the arbiter problem, but also reached a duel agreement with Ximen Qingge. At this time, Liu Zhenhui suddenly moved closer and said, Junior brother, you're smiling. What happy thing are you thinking about? I said, thanks to senior brother's efforts, we found a arbiter. That's a happy thing. Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui said, thank you for the praise, junior brother. I'm so moved you think this way. I said, this is all because senior brother has the heavenly martial body. You even created a new martial art on the spot. Liu Zhenhui said modestly, that was created using mixed origin unity technique as a foundation. It's still just an incomplete product. Do you want to learn it, junior brother? Before learning the complete mixed origin unity technique, using this isn't bad. Liu Zhenhui continued, you're my only junior brother, and I specially made a simple mnemonic for you. Saying this, he earnestly began teaching, and I learned from the side, quickly mastering it. Although mixed origin technique wasn't as good as mixed origin unity technique, it suited Kongtong Sect's swordsmanship very well. More importantly, using this martial art, that thing of mine wouldn't suddenly stand up. I didn't know the reason, but it felt like an insufficient part had been filled. The scene shifted. We finally returned to Kongtong Sect. After conveying the good news to Master, he was very happy. He said, seeing you complete your first venture into the martial world perfectly, I'm very moved. During your time at the Ximen family, the sect has also received a lot of good news. He took out a stack of letters and said, our sect's competition with the Black Dragon Gang has actually become a battle between good and evil, and Qingsheng Sect, Ma Sect, and even Hengshan Sect are all willing to be arbiter. Hearing this, I was quite surprised. Qingsheng Sect and Ma Sect didn't get along with the Black Dragon Gang, so their willingness to be arbiter was normal. But Hengshan Sect replaced Kongtong Sect to enter the 9 great sects and had a grudge with us. Would Swordmaster Yin Shuelan also come? After receiving Master's affirmative answer, I immediately showed a lecherous expression. I didn't expect the opportunity to come so quickly. I could finally meet my first wife candidate. At the same time, at Hengshan Sect, a disciple was enthusiastically talking about the sect leader's past. Back then, when sect leader Yin Shuelan was only 16 years old, at a gathering of rising stars, she announced before everyone that she would marry the man who could defeat her. As long as someone could beat her, no matter who, they could become her husband. Hearing this, the disciples were full of admiration. That's so cool. The woman continued just like that. Decades passed, and still no one could defeat the sect leader. And our Hengshan sect also became one of the 9 great sects because of this. So we must be grateful to Swordmaster Yin Shuelan, our sect leader. As the door slowly opened, the first thing that caught my eye was a strand of silky hair as smooth as satin. This instantly maxed out my expectations. But the next second, what appeared before me was actually a petite and adorable little girl. Seeing this, I was completely shocked. The first flower was actually still a child, but I quickly came to my senses. This was 50 years in the past. She should be a younger girl than me right now. Though she was a beautiful young girl, looking at her actually reminded me of the emperor from back then, which instantly extinguished any thoughts I had of conquering her. At that moment, Shu Guangyuan patted his daughter's head and introduced us. This is the sect master and disciples of the Kongtong sect. Say hello to them. Shu Xiaolin reluctantly said hello. Hearing this, I first froze, then was completely captivated by her adorable appearance. Looks like I needed to take back what I just thought. She was going to be the future first flower. If I wanted to become her good big brother, I had to start building up favorability from the very beginning. So I said righteously, I'm Li Zhexiu, a newly initiated disciple of the Kongtong sect. It's an honor to meet you. But what I got in return was a pair of eyes filled with hostility. Then without another word, she ran toward her room, saying, what's there to know about a pathetic sect that can't even protect common people? Whether it's the Kongtong sect or the entire martial arts world, they're all disgusting. Shu Guangyuan immediately apologized. Please forgive her, she might be a bit shy around strangers. However, her behavior didn't surprise me at all, because according to intelligence from my previous life, in a fight between evil sects, her mother was unfortunately caught in the crossfire and died, and the Kongtong sect, the only righteous sect here, wasn't able to provide any help at all, so it was perfectly normal for her to harbor resentment. Later, after enjoying a hearty meal, Xu Xiaolin appeared in my line of sight again. Although this trip's results weren't perfect, at least I got to meet the legendary first flower, so it wasn't a wasted trip. At that moment, Liu Zhenhui leaned close to my ear and asked, "Junior brother, did you like today's meal?" I was startled, then quickly pulled away and said, "I liked it. I liked it very much." Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui also smiled happily. Seeing this scene, I felt unhappy. He was getting better looking. What if Xiaolin fell for him in the future? Thinking about this, I suddenly felt awful. I absolutely couldn't let him steal the position of #1 handsome guy, so I immediately suggested to Master whether we could regularly come here to eat. Master asked puzzledly, "Do you like the taste here?" I said, "The food here is delicious." I didn't expect the Kongtong Inn to have made so many contributions to the sect's rebuilding, so seeing them gives me motivation to work harder. Hearing this, Master gratifyingly agreed to my request. But what he didn't know was that I had already calculated everything in my mind. Compared to my senior brother, who was #1 in looks, building a good relationship with Xu Xiaolin first was most important. When night came, I started preparing for the next time I would see Xu Xiaolin. After practicing Kegel exercises to a certain degree, the next essential exercise for enhancing stamina was the hanging exercise that used that thing's strength to support weights. Since I got such great results from the secret cave, that thing naturally needed to become stronger. Thinking this, I first took a deep breath, then started swinging frantically. Day after day, year after year, the hanging weight also evolved from small pebbles at first, to gradually becoming large bricks. A year later, I looked proudly at the results of my training. Perfect. This was truly a top-tier stamina man. But just as I was about to take advantage of the momentum to circulate my Yangang Qigong, that thing's reaction below directly scared me. Damn it, the side effects appeared again. It turned out that after meeting the mixed origin Sword Empero in the secret cave, my internal energy developed a problem. Whenever I used Yangang Qigong, that thing would instinctively stand up, and to this day I still hadn't figured out why. If this continued, I would definitely be seen as a pervert. Just then, Liu Zhenhui's voice suddenly came from outside the door. This made me instantly furious. Why was there always someone interrupting at times like this? So I had no choice but to open the door in an extremely awkward posture, saying, "Senior brother, what's the matter?" Seeing this, Liu Zhenhui asked with confusion, "Junior brother, are you feeling unwell somewhere?" After I denied it, Liu Zhenhui told me the news that he wanted to go out to eat with me. With that said, he walked away without looking back. Seeing this, I felt relieved. Thankfully, my thing wasn't discovered. But senior brother seemed to have changed a bit. Was it because he wanted to see Xu Xiaolin quickly? The scene shifted, and Xu Xiaolin brought tea to our table. But before I could thank her, she ran off without a word. However, compared to the closeness of our first meeting, her attitude was obviously much better this time. But what I found strange was that the usually lively inn didn't have a single customer this time. At that moment, Xu Guangyuan greeted us. "Long time no see. The same dishes as last time?" I immediately confirmed. But just as he turned to leave, his body suddenly went weak, and he almost fell. Seeing this, I quickly supported him and asked if something had happened to the inn. Hearing this, Xu Guangyuan decided not to hide it anymore. He said, "Our Kongtong Inn might have to close down, because those bastards from Jinghui constantly collect exorbitant protection fees from merchants in Huaidong County to expand their influence. But a few months ago, they started targeting the Kongtong Inn. Not only did they deliberately create conflicts at the inn's entrance to affect business, they also threatened merchants not to do business with the inn. Without business, the losses kept mounting, and now there's really no way out. I'm afraid if this continues, even Xiaolin will be affected." Hearing this, I seemed to understand something. So Xu Xiaolin entered the Kongtong sect because her father couldn't bear Jinghui's harassment. Jinghui's backing was the big gang Black Dragon Gang, and the already declining Kongtong sect was no match for them at all. He must be suffering terribly right now, caught up in conflicts of interest with no choices to make. Just then, the inn's door was suddenly kicked open. We looked over, and several evil Shadow Society members said with nasty smiles, "Didn't you say if you couldn't pay today, you'd hand over the inn to us? We've warned you so many times, haven't you woken up yet? If you don't have money, just sell your daughter." Speaking of which, one grabbed Xu Xiaolin and said, "Never expected that a guy with a monster like mother would have such a pretty daughter. Starting today, you'll work in our shop to pay off the debt." With that, he started dragging her toward the door. At that moment, I suddenly spoke up to stop him, then threw a pair of chopsticks at that person. The next second, the chopsticks precisely hit the back of his hand. Seeing this, the other two quickly drew their swords and shouted, "A mere declining Kongtong sect dares to attack us?" However, the injured one looked at me with horror and said, "That's not the point. That guy's thing actually stood up." Hearing this, I quickly struck a seductive pose. Just then, Lu Zhenhui's voice suddenly came from behind me. He said with a completely red face, "Junior brother, that was a martial technique you used to disturb the opponent, right?" This made my heart tighten. Why was his face red? Did he really have an interest in men? At that moment, Jinhui members suddenly burst into mocking laughter, saying, "What a complete clown. You look like a eunuch, but never expected you'd have such an impressive thing." At this point, they suddenly changed their tone. "But you've angered Jinhui. You'll have to pay a painful price for that." Hearing this, I calmly picked up a spoon from the ground, saying, "If you want us to pay a price, come at us, but if you fail, you'll lose the genitals of yours." Hearing these words, Jinhui members were all furious. Battle was imminent, so I entrusted the task of protecting the Shu father and daughter to Lu Zhenhui. Seeing this, Shu Guangyuan asked worriedly, "Can he handle them alone?" Lu Zhenhui said, "Don't worry. Although junior brother made a fool of himself just now, he's still very capable." At that moment, Jinhui members also began attacking me. After easily dodging a slash, I seized the opportunity to respond. With just one move, I directly shattered 3 genitals. At that moment, Master pushed the door open and said, "Sorry I'm late, I just went to meet a merchant, willing to provide financial support to the sect." But when he saw the chaotic scene inside, the gruesome sight made his lower body instinctively tighten. After learning about the whole situation, Master said, "Ridiculous. Do you know what consequences this will bring?" Hearing this, I immediately expressed my apology to Shu Guangyuan. "I'm very sorry for causing trouble for the inn." And Shu Guangyuan said, "If it weren't for you, not only would the inn be taken by them, my daughter would also have been harmed by them." Hearing this, Master said angrily, "What a group of evildoers. I'll go deal with Zhang Wei right now." Shu Guangyuan said, "Thank you for the sect master's kind intentions, but I don't want it to implicate the Kong Tong sect because of me. If possible, could I trouble the sect master to help take care of my daughter?" The sect master immediately agreed. But just then, I suddenly interrupted them both, because although Zhu Xiaolin entered the Kong Tong sect like in previous life, this wasn't the best method. At such a young age, she closed her heart because of martial arts world conflicts, so the most important thing now was to ease the pain in her heart. People have 2 eyes and a pair of ears, not so we can just run away when we encounter problems. Seeing people who treat you like family in trouble and turning a blind eye, that's not worthy of a righteous sect. Master said, "Exactly. I'm happy to see you act righteously. So do you have confidence facing the Black Dragon Gang?" Seeing Master agree, I patted my chest and guaranteed, "I want to issue a martial arts challenge to the Black Dragon Gang in our sect's name. When the time comes, no matter who the opponent is, I will definitely defeat them." Master said with astonishment, "A martial arts challenge? Will they be willing to accept?" Hearing this, I revealed a meaningful smile and said, "Then we'll have to force them to agree." Soon, Zhang Hui boss looked at the challenge letter furiously. The Kong Tong sect was sending 2 disciples to compete against 3 Black Dragon Gang members. If they failed, the Kong Tong sect would close its gates for 50 years and no longer interfere in martial arts world affairs. If they won, the Black Dragon Gang and Evil Shadow Society would completely leave Huading County together. The boss suddenly said, "Although this condition benefits us, and we have strong fighters like Black Evil Dragon Guard Xiaolian sitting in command, we can't trouble the Black Dragon Gang's superiors over such a small matter." Just then, a voice suddenly came from above him. Looking back, he saw a pair of 2-meter-long legs appear before him. Black Dragon Gang's flower-faced tiger sword Lu Yiling said, "Accept their challenge. I'll participate when the time comes." Hearing this, Jing Hui boss said, "Our Evil Shadow Society can handle such small matters." Lu Yiling said again, "Now it's spread throughout all of Huading County that a young man turned Evil Shadow Society members into eunuchs with just a spoon." That's right. Before sending out the challenge, I spread this news throughout the streets and alleys. I even claimed the Black Dragon Gang was also worthless. Hearing this, Jing Hui boss quickly knelt and said, "I'm sorry, it's Jing Hui that caused the Black Dragon Gang to lose face." Lu Yiling said coldly, "I'll take action personally this time. Don't let this kind of thing happen again next time." Meanwhile, I was doing Kegel exercises while feeling smug. This idea was simply perfect. Defeating the tyrannical evil sect for the common people was somewhat exciting. Just thinking about how beauties would throw themselves at me after defeating the Black Dragon Gang. That thing of mine unconsciously stood up again. Just then, a strange sound suddenly came from not far away. However, I wasn't surprised at all. So the black masked person was finally coming? Although I sent a martial arts challenge, a big villain like Zhang Hui wouldn't honorably agree to compete, so they would often hire black masked men. But when I saw the person's face clearly, I was shocked. Never expected Zhang Hui would have such a hot-bodied female expert. I remembered that in my previous life during the battle between the Kong Tong sect and Zhang Hui, the intelligence didn't record any female experts in Zhang Hui. At that moment, the woman suddenly asked, "Are you Li Jexiu?" After I confirmed, she immediately attacked me saying, "Where did you get the confidence to issue a martial arts challenge to the Black Dragon Gang?" Soon, after several rounds of exchanges, she tested out my true level. She said, "Your skills are decent but not amazing. Looks like that martial arts challenge relied on Lu Zhenhui's strength." With that, she launched a new round of attacks on me. Seeing this, I quickly jumped back to create distance. Her strength was formidable. Who exactly was she? Thinking this, the ornament on her sword suddenly caught my attention. This made me suddenly realize something, saying, "Are you flower-faced fox sword Lu Yiling?" After Lu Yiling confirmed, I thought to myself in alarm, damn it, why would she appear here? According to intelligence from my previous life, half her face was burned by fire, and she was famously cold and ruthless toward men. Her most famous deed was removing the veil covering her face and asking men if she was beautiful, using this to test whether men could speak their true feelings. And once a man failed the test, she would directly castrate him. What scared me was that so far, not a single man had passed the test. At that moment, Lu Yiling slowly removed her veil and walked toward me, saying, "Since you recognize me at a glance, you should know I give men a test." This made cold sweat break out on my forehead. How could I get through this crisis? While contemplating, Lu Yiling directly revealed her true face and asked, "Do you think I'm beautiful?" I absolutely couldn't give an ordinary answer, but had to say something that would move her heart, because only a sincere answer could touch her heart. Thinking this, I revealed a sly smile. To prove a man's sincerity, there was definitely nothing more real than that. So I directly said, "Senior Lu Yiling, you're truly beautiful." As I finished speaking, that thing of mine also stood up. Seeing this scene, Lu Yiling said with shock, "You shameless guy." And I said innocently, "Weren't you the one who asked me? Your bright eyes, hair as soft as silk, face as beautiful as a flower, too beautiful. I swear in the name of the Kong Tong sect that you truly are beautiful in my eyes." Hearing this, Lu Yiling's face turned completely red as she fell into a daze. She thought, "I'm now over 60 years old. So far, I've asked countless men this question, but this is the first time I've met someone so straightforward. But if he's lying to me, how could that thing of his stand up?" Seeing Lu Yiling fall into hesitation, I rejoiced inwardly, because only I knew that Lu Yiling had a reason for asking men this kind of question. The world all thought Lu Yiling was a strange female expert in the Black Dragon Gang, but her true identity was a top-tier expert who had stepped into the profound realm, also known as the #1 person in the evil sex. Thousand-faced 100 flowers Chi Cue. Her famous technique was the thousand-faced 100 flowers art that could transform into men, women old and young, and she really enjoyed creating alternate accounts to roam the martial arts world. Flower-faced fox sword was one of Chi Cue's alternate accounts. Because Chi Cue had been a renowned peerless beauty since childhood, she often suffered men's ulterior gazes. This also gave her the prejudice that men only cared about women's appearances. So Lu Yiling's test precisely reflected Chi Cue's prejudice. At that moment, a ray of light suddenly flashed in Lu Yiling's eyes. This was the heart-examining eye, a technique that could distinguish truth from falsehood. After careful examination, she was astonished, thinking, "Never expected he was telling the truth. All along, men who've seen me only focus on my appearance and try every means to obtain me. But no matter what, how could he be moved by an ugly woman?" Seeing the timing was right, I suddenly said, "Senior, you said that if I passed the test, you'd grant my wish." Her face immediately turned bright red, saying, "Don't come near me holding that thing up. Do you really think I'm beautiful like this?" I confirmed again, saying, "So please help me realize my wish." Hearing this, Lu Yiling's mind was in complete chaos, thinking, a request under these circumstances. Could it be that he wants me to? Just as Lu Yiling was moved by my sincere words, I whispered my wish in her ear. I wanted to lie on a bed with you under bright moonlight and experience the pleasures between men and women together. Speaking of which, I shook my head pretending to be troubled, saying, "No, that won't work." Hearing this, Lu Yiling urgently questioned why it wouldn't work. I said, "I'm a righteous disciple of the Kong Tong sect. I can't put personal desires above the sect's greater cause, so please help me deliver the martial arts challenge to the Black Dragon Gang." With that said, I started feeling smug about successfully changing the subject, while Lu Yiling looked extremely angry. Then she let out a roar at me. Not only did she shatter my long sword, she directly sent me flying. This left me completely confused. Things were fine just now, what did I do wrong? Lu Yiling snapped back to her senses and was startled, then full of guilt, helped me up, saying, "Are you okay? I didn't mean to just now. I just wanted to vent my emotions, but unconsciously used internal energy." At that moment, I directly coughed up blood. That roar of hers nearly killed me, but looking at her panicked appearance, it seemed she really didn't mean to attack me. In that case, I couldn't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I acted coquettishly. "Senior, how could you treat me like this? I heard you're very good to people you acknowledge." Lu Yiling hurriedly explained, "That was really a misunderstanding." Seeing the timing was right, I asked her again if she could grant my wish of delivering the martial arts challenge. Lu Yiling immediately agreed. "I'll definitely help you realize it." Seeing this, I revealed a triumphant smile. As expected, coquettish men have the best fate. But what surprised me even more was that, before leaving, she placed several suming pills on the ground. Seeing this, my eyes lit up. This operation was simply hitting the jackpot. After Lu Yiling left, Lu Zhenhui's voice came from not far away again. I panicked. Master and senior brother absolutely couldn't know about Lu Yiling, so I quickly lay on the ground pretending I had just regained consciousness. Soon, when Lu Zhenhui arrived, he pulled me into his arms and said, "Junior brother, are you okay?" I said, "Don't worry. A group of black masked people just attacked the Kong Tong sect. I fought with them for a long time, but still let them escape. Although I suffered minor injuries, at least I successfully protected the Kong Tong sect." Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui suddenly thought of something, saying, "Those people must be from Jinghui. Only they would do such despicable and shameless things. Next time I see them, I definitely won't let them off easily." Seeing this, I smiled with satisfaction. The more senior brother hated Jinghui, the stronger he would perform at the martial arts competition. But what disgusted me was whether these things have to be said in a hugging manner. The scene shifted. After 3 days of recovery, my body had completely healed. I'd better save these suming pills for important moments. Just then, Master and Liu Zhenhui suddenly came looking for me. I quickly lay weakly on the bed, saying, "After resting a while, my body feels much better." Hearing this, the two were happy. Master said to recover quickly, nutrition was essential. Liu Zhenhui took my hand and said, "Whatever you want to eat, just say it and I'll buy it." Hearing this, my eyes suddenly brightened. Since joining the Kongtong sect, it had been plain food every day. Why not take this opportunity to eat some food that could enhance stamina? Although clams were best, considering the sect's terrible financial situation, I had to settle for second best. I said, "I want to eat pork and pork liver." Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui immediately went down the mountain to buy food. He cried while blaming himself. "It's all my fault for not protecting junior brother well. So to prevent junior brother from getting hurt again, I must become stronger." Moments later, Liu Zhenhui finally arrived at Kongtong Inn and told Xu Guangyuan the news of my injury. He also asked if he could buy some pork. Xu Guangyuan agreed, saying, "After all, he was injured because of us. We can't be like ungrateful animals and do nothing." Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui quickly expressed his gratitude. But just then, Xu Xiaolin suddenly stood up from the table, saying, "I also want to go to Kongtong sect to take care of him." This left Liu Zhenhui confused, saying, "I alone am enough." However, Xu Xiaolin's face was full of determination, saying, "As his future wife, taking care of him is my duty." Xu Guangyuan awkwardly explained, "I only told Xiaolin that if she's looking for a husband, she must find someone like Li Zhexiu." It turned out that a few days ago, Xu Guangyuan was drowning his sorrows over Jinghui trying to seize the inn. At that moment, Xu Xiaolin walked up carrying a teacup, saying, "Father, are you okay? Even with the Kongtong sect people helping, you're still worried?" This made Xu Guangyuan say, "If we lose in the competition with the Black Dragon Gang, not only the inn and us, the Kongtong sect will also be implicated." At this point, he suddenly smiled and said, "Xiaolin, what do you think of Li Zhexiu?" Xu Xiaolin thought for a moment and said, "He's a good person." Xu Guangyuan also agreed, saying, "He was very brave when confronting Zhanghui. Only an outstanding man like him is qualified to become my daughter's future husband." Hearing this, Xu Xiaolin's face immediately turned red, saying, "Father, I don't object to what you're saying." So Xu Xiaolin now considered herself my future wife and wanted to take care of me. Coming to her senses, Xu Xiaolin said, "He was injured because of our inn. I should go take care of him." Liu Zhenhui didn't know how to refute. Although she was right, he just felt unhappy. At that moment, Xu Guangyuan said, "If you don't like Xiaolin going to take care of him, could you at least bring her to see him once?" In the end, Liu Zhenhui agreed, because since that day Jinghui caused trouble, people on the streets had been in constant panic. So compared to here, the Kongtong sect was safer. Meanwhile, I was lying in bed distressed. Why at such a good time was I alone with Master? If a beauty ran over now wanting to examine my body, then have a deep exchange with me, wouldn't that be the best way to care for a patient? Just then, sound suddenly came from outside the door. Master guest Liu Zhenhui had returned and prepared to go check. After only I remained in the room, I continued doing Kegel exercises again. I'd been doing this exercise for quite some time. Looking at that thing standing proud and propping up the blanket, I suddenly recalled memories from my previous life. In my previous life, although I often fantasized, in the end I couldn't relieve myself. Thinking about this, I had an idea. Why not secretly relieve myself once while I was alone? However, just as I was getting into it, Xu Xiaolin silently opened the door. She said, "Long time no see." Seeing this, my mind immediately raced wildly, but I still friendly asked why she was here. Xu Xiaolin said she came to take care of me and would temporarily stay at Kongtong sect for some time. Speaking of which, she took out a towel to wipe my body. I immediately broke out in cold sweat, but before I could agree, she directly lifted the blanket. This made me cry out uncontrollably, "Stop!" Meanwhile, Liu Zhenhui was cooking in the kitchen, but a trace of melancholy showed on his face. Xu Xiaolin openly declared she wanted to become junior brother's wife. She was very pretty. She'd definitely be a beauty in the future, but I could only be a man for life. At that moment, he suddenly thought of something. Since I couldn't like junior brother as a woman, then junior brother as my most important person, I couldn't let him casually marry other women either. So even Miss Xu needed to pass my verification. Just then, Xu Xiaolin walked in saying, "He said men and women shouldn't have physical contact, so he won't let me wipe his body. You're a man. Can you help him?" Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui happily agreed. On the other side, I had just calmed down when Liu Zhenhui rushed in, saying, "You said Miss Xu is a woman. so it's inconvenient for her to wipe your body. I and junior brother just happen to both be men, so you can safely entrust your body to me." Hearing this, I immediately panicked, saying, "Senior brother, I don't need to." Before I finished speaking, Liu Zhenhui impatiently started pulling at me. In the end, not only was the blanket torn, even my clothes were ripped to shreds by him. Just like that, Liu Zhenhui took away my first intimate massage. But speaking of which, senior brother's technique was simply extraordinary. The scene shifted. Lu Yiling lying on the bed looked worried. Would Jexiu be seriously injured? Could he have collapsed and never gotten up again? Thinking this, she suddenly realized something was wrong. As a profound realm expert and the #1 person in the evil sex, I was actually worrying about an unknown junior. I was the first flower that all men desired. Could I really have been captivated by a Kongtong sect youth? Later, she summoned Jinghui's leader and reminded him she was going to Black Dragon Gang headquarters and not to cause trouble while she was away. Along the way, Lu Yiling kept denying herself. How could I possibly have feelings for that kind of person? I'm just keeping my promise. I definitely won't fall for you, Li Jexiu. Just after Lu Zhenhui forcibly gave me a body massage, he asked how I felt. I said very comfortable, but actually wanted to die. My body had been touched all over by a man. Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui happily said, "Then from now on I'll give you acupoint massage every day." Hearing this, I jumped up suddenly, saying, "No need to trouble senior brother. This time was enough." Liu Zhenhui said, "As long as it helps junior brother recover faster, I'll do anything." Then he happily said he'd get me water to drink. Although this made me very unhappy, I had to admit Liu Zhenhui's massage effect was indeed good. My body felt much better, but I couldn't accept senior brother touching me like this every day. Looks like I had to speed up the competition. Although Chisiyue promised she'd persuade the Black Dragon Gang, this wasn't enough at all. The competition still needed an arbiter. The so-called arbiter was someone who proved the match was fair. This way, not only could it prevent the losing side from lying about winning, they could also be responsible for publicizing the competition's results. But the biggest problem now was finding a respected and prestigious arbiter. After the Kongtong sect declined, the only one who qualified was the Shimin family. But the Shimin family, who never liked meddling in others' affairs, definitely wouldn't agree. Now I could only wait until my body recovered to pay attention to the Shimin family's movements. Just then, Liu Zhenhui walked in again carrying a water cup. Seeing this, I asked if he had other things to do. Liu Zhenhui happily nodded. I asked again, then if senior brother is taking care of me, who's cooking? But when I learned from him it was Shu Xiaolin, I directly spit out the water I just brought to my mouth. My pork was doomed. Shu Xiaolin couldn't cook at all. The scene shifted. Inside Black Dragon Gang, Lu Yiling told the Black Dragon Gang leader about the Kongtong sect wanting to resolve Jinghui matter using martial arts world methods. This made Black Dragon Gang leader Wei Tianming very displeased. He said, requesting a private meeting with me over such a trivial matter. Flower-faced fox sword Lu Yiling, do you think meeting me alone is child's play? Speaking of which, a massive internal energy burst from his body, ultimately transforming into a black dragon with fierce eyes. However, Lu Yiling's heart remained completely calm, as internal energy all concentrated into the letter. The next second, Wei Tianming threw the letter toward Lu Yiling, but it was easily caught by Lu Yiling. Seeing this scene, Wei Tianming was astonished. I clearly added internal energy. At that moment, his eyes widened in horror. He saw Lu Yiling suddenly tear off her disguise, revealing her true face, saying, "When did I allow you to be presumptuous in front of me?" Seeing this, Wei Tianming quickly ran before her and knelt. Alliance leader, why did you come? At that moment, Qi Xie looked very displeased. Cursing inwardly, Li Jexiu, you big bad guy, it's all because of you I revealed my true face. Then she directly said, accept the Kongtong sect's martial arts challenge. Wei Tianming said weakly, but accepting this competition doesn't seem to have any benefits. Qi Xie smiled, you only know one thing but not the other. Isn't there still the Shimen family? Hearing this, Wei Tianming suddenly understood. Those despicable people from the Shimen family had been waiting for an opportunity. For hundreds of years, the entire province had been the Kongtong sect's base. If the Kongtong sect revived, it was only a matter of time before the Shimen family was suppressed, so the Shimen family had always ignored Jinghui's affairs. Having the Kongtong sect fall faster was the situation they wanted to see. After the Kongtong sect fell, they, as a righteous sect, would use revenge as an excuse to have a decisive battle with the Black Dragon Gang, thereby consolidating their position as the #1 sect. At this point, Qi Xie suddenly interjected, but if the Black Dragon Gang completely destroyed the Kongtong sect through competition, they wouldn't have a chance to intervene. Hearing this, Wei Tianming immediately guaranteed, please rest assured, Alliance leader, I will definitely win the competition. Then destroy the Kongtong sect's home mountain and cut off their lifeline. However, Qi Xie said, don't destroy the home mountain. This left Wei Tianming very confused. But what he didn't know was that Qi Xie was thinking Li Jexiu needed a place to live before coming of age. Meanwhile, I was heading toward the kitchen, actually letting Xu Xiaolin cook such precious pork. According to intelligence from palace spies in my previous life, people who ate Xu Xiaolin's cooking nearly died. This wasn't because it was poisoned, but purely because it was simply terrible. My pork must not have any problems, but when I reached the kitchen, I discovered not only might the pork be lost, possibly even the kitchen would burn down. Seeing this, Liu Zhenhui quickly went to fetch water. But I thought to myself, not good. Why hadn't I seen Xu Xiaolin? Could she still be in the kitchen? Thinking this, I quickly pushed open the door, then picked up Xu Xiaolin, who was lying on the ground. And the moment Xu Xiaolin saw me, her eyes seemed to fill with light. Upon hearing this, Liu Zhenhui's face flushed with a hint of redness, and then she agreed to it. As expected, he was indeed coveting my beauty. Afterward, I told Liu Zhenhui that the Maitreya holy water was an extremely yin spiritual medicine and must be absorbed using yin-based internal energy. Liu Zhenhui suddenly recalled the 3 yin true formula he had discovered earlier. Immediately, he began flipping through the manual and memorizing it. Witnessing this scene, I couldn't help but sigh inwardly at how fast he flipped through the pages, truly worthy of being a prodigy with a heavenly martial body. Soon after memorizing the incantation, he wrapped the cloth strips and prepared to consume it. He thought, since this Maitreya holy water was given to me by my junior brother, no matter what happens, I will not disappoint his kind intentions. But just as he drank the Maitreya holy water, the cold yin energy began to rampage wildly within his body. Immediately after, his body trembled uncontrollably from the cold, and his heart felt as if it had frozen solid. Seeing this scene, I immediately sensed something was wrong. Could it be that Liu Zhenhui couldn't control the powerful yin energy of the holy water, as Liu Zhenhui's entire body was slowly covered by a thin layer of ice? The next second, he appeared in his own spiritual world. Then, childhood scenes began playing out before him. A crow killed a family of swallows, so he killed the crow. At this moment, his inner demon suddenly spoke. Why is everyone cursing at me? Why do they all call me a monster? Before Liu Zhenhui could react, the next second, the inner demon lunged at him with a ferocious expression. At the same time, I also sensed something unusual. I had wanted him to absorb the spiritual medicine to grow stronger quickly, then rely on his reputation to capture the hearts of beauties. But now it seemed he was very likely being invaded by his own inner demon. Although I was unwilling to have physical contact with him, I couldn't just watch him suffer like this. So I began transmitting my true energy to him, saying, Senior brother, quickly absorb the yin energy of the Maitreya holy water, then recite the 3 yin true formula. Work with the acupoints I told you about to guide the cold yin energy. If you don't pull yourself together, you'll truly fall into demonic deviation. At this time, Liu Zhenhui also heard my call, but the inner demon was choking his neck, preventing him from moving at all. Seeing Liu Zhenhui becoming increasingly endangered, for the sake of my bright future, I couldn't let him become a cripple. Liu Zhenhui, consider yourself lucky. Your junior brother was a supreme master in his previous life. With that thought, I channeled another surge of powerful internal energy into him. At this time, Liu Zhenhui was still desperately struggling to break free from the inner demon's control. Then he picked up a stone beside him and smashed it toward the inner demon's head with all his might. After breaking free from the control, the inner demon was thoroughly enraged. Before Liu Zhenhui could run far, it charged forward in one swift motion and sent Liu Zhenhui flying several meters. Having lost his combat ability, Liu Zhenhui looked utterly desperate. He said, Am I going to die so worthlessly like this? Before he could finish, a voice suddenly transmitted to his mind. Senior brother, don't give up. Immediately after, a surge of powerful internal energy poured into his body. I said, Senior brother, you must pull yourself together. Don't be defeated by the inner demon before you. The most important thing now is to absorb the spiritual medicine. I'll help you expand your acupoints. Although it will be very painful for me, as long as I can create an opportunity for you, it's all worth it. Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui also summoned his spirits. He thought, my junior brother is risking danger to help me. I absolutely cannot let him down. With that thought, he immediately stood up and launched a counterattack. With just one punch, he sent the inner demon flying. Then he sat cross-legged and began absorbing the Maitreya holy water. The inner demon sensed that he had used up all his internal energy to suppress the yin energy, which was why it had awakened. So as long as he could replenish his internal energy, defeating the inner demon would be easy. But just at this moment, the inner demon also recovered. Without a word, it charged toward Liu Zhenhui. At this critical moment, I hastily transmitted another surge of internal energy to him. The next second, dozens of wooden sticks firmly locked the inner demon in place. Soon, after Liu Zhenhui opened his governing and conception vessels, with just one glance, he cast the inner demon into a bottomless abyss. At the same time, I also sensed that his aura gradually became stable, so I signaled him to send the cold yin energy into the Baihui acupoint, because doing so would bring him close to breaking through the realm of the governing and conception vessels. Faced with my sincere concern, Liu Zhenhui fell into a daze for a moment. He thought, it seems my junior brother has been like this from the beginning, always thinking of me. Not only did he give me the most important thing, but he also saved me at this critical moment. Thank you for taking such good care of me. I will never forget this kindness. Even if the whole world becomes your enemy, I will firmly stand stand by your side. Moments later, Liu Zhenhui finally succeeded in breaking through the governing and conception vessels. At the same time, Liu Zhenhui's body also entered a state of self-forgetfulness. But what made me curious was why his chest was more prominent than an ordinary man's. Could it be because of the Maitreya holy water? Thinking of this, I suddenly had an epiphany. No wonder Liu Zhenhui in the previous life stayed away from women. It turned out his physical condition had caused him a lot of trouble. Just then, a cluster of plants glowing red suddenly caught my attention. When I walked closer to take a careful look, I discovered it was actually red yang moss, which could replenish vitality. Seeing this, I happily did a few sets of Kegel exercises, then began eating it in large mouthfuls. Now was the perfect time to take advantage of this opportunity to practice cultivation. Normally, I should direct the spiritual medicine's essence into my dantian to convert it into internal energy, but this time I would spread the power of the red yang moss throughout my entire body, because only by strengthening the body could I increase my vitality. Although red yang moss wasn't as powerful as the Maitreya holy water, I could gain a body immune to all diseases. But just after I finished my cultivation, I discovered that Liu Zhenhui had disappeared. Had he gone to bathe? Then I should go wash up with him too. But what I didn't expect was that Liu Zhenhui was extremely resistant to this matter. About this, I could only agree to wait for him outside. This made Liu Zhenhui breathe a sigh of relief. He'd almost been discovered by his junior brother that he was a woman. Master once said that in the martial world, only men would not be looked down upon. Although it was very dangerous just now, fortunately he absorbed the Maitreya holy water. If it weren't for my junior brother, I would definitely have become a cripple. Why is such a kind person only my junior brother? Thinking of this, his face couldn't help but flush with redness, and he even had the thought of wanting to take care of his junior brother for life, even without encountering difficulties. Liu Zhenhui, coming to his senses, looked shocked. What am I thinking randomly? My feelings for my junior brother should be fraternal affection between brothers, because whether it's rebuilding the sect or standing by my junior brother's side, neither can be done with a weak woman's body. I must be a man. At the same time, I, waiting outside, was already deeply shocked by the cave's scenery. The night luminous pearls embedded everywhere were enough to explain the Kongtong sect's wealth back then. The sect founded by the world's talented people, Wuji Zi, the mixed origin sword emperor. Who would have thought it would be so fallen today? 50 years ago, after the Kongtong sect suffered a massacre, only one person survived. That was Lin Baixian, the heavenly thunder sword. Because the Kongtong sect's glory was no more, and the advanced secret manuals were all burned, he only took one disciple in his lifetime. That child was the current Kongtong sect master, the demon-subduing swordsman Kuan Yin. Although this nickname sounded cool, everyone in the martial world knew it was sarcastic, because it was given to him by the evil sect Jing Wei, which wanted to destroy the Kongtong sect, to mock the loss of the demon-subduing sword technique. Fortunately, this time we recovered the secret manual in the cave, which was quite a significant gain. Although Wujizi didn't prophetically create this cave, it was good fortune for the current Kongtong sect. At that time, Wujizi erased all rumors about the cave to live in seclusion, so the demon cult never found this place. This left me very puzzled. Why would Wujizi erase the secret cave, which was like a sacred place, from history? You must know that before the demon cult invasion, the Kongtong sect was the #1 sect. Wujizi couldn't have predicted the Kongtong sect's decline in advance. Could it have been merely for seclusion? But what made me even more curious was another point. How did Liu Zhenhui in the previous life find this place? At this moment, Liu Zhenhui happened to walk out of the bathing pool, saying, "Junior brother, go bathe." Seeing this, I was completely stunned, and my face involuntarily flushed red. Could it be because of the Maitreya holy water? His face seemed even more beautiful than usual. Thinking of this, I directly punched myself. What was I thinking? He was a grown man. However, this kid Liu Zhenhui was indeed becoming more and more handsome, and there was even a faint floral fragrance on him. Should I also carry a sachet to pay attention to my image? But soon I rejected my own idea. Forget it. No matter how nicely dressed, this ugly face was already a fact. After I finished bathing, Liu Zhenhui was organizing the martial arts manuals we had found. Currently, the Kongtong sect only had the Lesser Yang technique, and here we not only recovered the 3 Yin True formula, but also recovered all the internal energy cultivation methods. When the Lesser Yang technique and 3 Yin True formula were practiced to the highest level, one could learn the even more powerful Mixed Origin Unity skill. But what puzzled me was that we hadn't discovered the Mixed Origin Unity skill or the demon-subduing sword technique here. According to intelligence from the Eastern Depot in my previous life, Liu Zhenhui obtained the demon-subduing sword technique here. But the palace's intelligence would never be wrong. This meant that Wu Jizi must have left the sword technique manual in some other way. So in what way would Wu Jizi, who had reached the life-death realm, leave the sword technique? At this moment, Liu Zhenhui said, "By the way, earlier I discovered a huge sword mark in the cave beside the bathing pool." Hearing this, I hastily signaled Liu Zhenhui to lead the way and take a look. When we arrived at the destination, the scene before me made me sigh in admiration. So magnificent. I said, "Senior brother, there seems to be something behind this wall. What sealed this wall should be a mechanical device from 300 years ago. When opening it, if the force was too great or too small, this mechanism would completely seal the entire cave. So without performing the demon-subduing sword technique, this stone wall couldn't be opened. But fortunately, I knew a bit of the demon-subduing sword technique's incantation. It turned out that in my previous life, the imperial family, in order to balance the martial world, collected various sects' ultimate techniques and developed methods to counter them. Although I hadn't mastered all the authentic secret arts, because the Kongtong sect's demon-subduing sword technique was very famous, I had learned a bit. So I recognized at a glance that these sword marks were the demon-subduing sword technique left by Wu Ji. Thinking of this, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but rise. There must be something good left by Wu Ji behind this stone wall. Then I began constantly exploring this cave, because all martial arts had footwork techniques, and everything in this cave was a hint given by Wu Ji. Soon I discovered sword marks on the ground, so I followed the sword marks to find where the footwork technique should be performed. Finally, I found a stone wall covered by vines. When I struck it with my sword, dozens of sword marks suddenly appeared before us. Because the demon-subduing sword technique Wu Ji left on the stone wall was too profound, Liu Zhenhui and I spent 2 days deciphering it. During this time, Liu Zhenhui was the first to notice that the lightning-shaped marks on the stone wall were the demon-subduing sword technique starting from another stone wall. To restore the sword technique, we racked our brains and referenced all the Kongtong sect's secret manuals, then combined it with my memories to finally obtain the correct incantation. Next was teaching him how to practice the sword technique. I never imagined that my first intimate contact in this life would be with a man. Damn, Liu Zhenhui, how many of my firsts are you going to take away? Just like this, through our tireless efforts, Liu Zhenhui finally learned the demon-subduing sword technique. But Liu Zhenhui looked at the long sword with a face full of doubt. Now I just need to use the demon-subduing sword technique on the stone wall? Is this really okay? Master once said that without the mixed origin unity skill, one couldn't perfectly execute the demon-subduing sword technique. I immediately gave my affirmation, because the sword marks on the stone wall were originally prepared for those whose sword technique had reached the highest level. If, senior brother, you weren't a heavenly martial body, we wouldn't even have been able to restore the demon-subduing sword technique. Liu Zhenhui inquired, "Isn't there any other way to open the stone wall?" I signaled him not to worry because I had already thought of a way to crack it. After all, I was once the boss of an intelligence organization. My skill level in using energy sensing to unlock mechanical devices was second to none in the world. Originally, one needed to use the sharp edge of the demon-subduing sword technique to unlock the seal, but because this was very old technology, except for the core device, other devices couldn't distinguish between sword energy and energy sensing at all. As long as I utilized this point well, even without reaching the highest level of the demon-subduing sword technique, I could open the stone wall. Soon, after some maneuvering on my part, I nodded to Liu Zhenhui, signaling success. Liu Zhenhui immediately understood. Then he began preparing to execute the demon-subduing sword technique. Seeing this scene, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but rise. Liu Zhenhui, fully display your talent. Your present life will be different from your previous one. With that, Liu Zhenhui began executing the footwork technique. Immediately after, as he charged forward, an earth-shattering sword energy also descended. The next second, the narrow stone wall slowly opened. Liu Zhenhui excitedly grabbed both my hands in celebration. "Junior brother, you're so amazing. Thank you so much for actually letting me learn the Kongtong sect's ultimate technique." I said, "We can't celebrate too early yet. Let's go confirm what Wu Ji left behind." But after stepping into the stone wall, I unknowingly lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I discovered my hands were already tightly bound by iron chains, and 2 people in front of me also seemed to be muttering something. Before I could react, that man from my previous life who had cut off my genitals greeted me. Seeing this, I was shocked. It was actually Wang San and Zhang Xian, the palace middleman. This immediately gave me the answer. So after entering the stone wall, I had fallen into an illusion. Damn, Wu Ji, making me see this disgusting hallucination. I will definitely make you pay. At this moment, Wang San walked over with a sinister smile, saying, "Little guy, you should thank me. After all, living in the palace is better than starving to death outside, right? And who knows, you might even become a powerful eunuch with immense power. When that time comes, don't forget the great kindness of Zhang Xian and me." Hearing this, I immediately became furious. What he said was right. In my previous life, I was indeed someone below 1 person but above 10,000. But so what if I had power and influence? In the end, I was still just a eunuch. Thinking of this, a blinding light burst forth from within my body. Although, after rebirth my body lost all its internal energy, my spiritual power had not disappeared. With this alone, I easily broke free from my restraints. Before the 2 could react, they were instantly frozen by me. If everything happening now was occurring in my spiritual world, then my martial arts would definitely not disappear. Then I hooked my finger, and the next second, several ice spikes directly pierced them into ice shards. How could such a crude illusion deceive me? But just as I was lost in thought, the illusion illusion scenery silently transformed. At this moment, a delicate jade hand suddenly reached from behind me. When I came to my senses, I discovered I was already immersed in the wine and women I had longed for. The woman said, "You're so amazing. Calm down. Come hold me." What painstaking effort to confuse my mind. They actually custom-made an illusion array. But I wasn't a casual man, unless it was the pleasure between mutually loving men and women. No matter how beautiful the women appearing in the illusion were, they were useless to me. Then I directly shattered the illusion with one punch. But the scene that changed immediately exceeded my expectations. I saw a man emanating profound internal energy walking toward me before I could ask his name. The next second, the man attacked me with his sword. Seeing such overwhelming momentum, I immediately knew the answer. That's right, this person was the Kongtong sect's strongest master from 300 years ago, who blocked the demon cult's attack and saved the martial world. The world's talented people, Wu Jizi, the mixed origin sword emperor. While dodging, I said I wasn't an enemy, but Wu Jizi believed I was lying, because he had already seen that my spiritual power was that of a supreme master, but my footwork couldn't even reach third-rate level. My soul was also filled with heaven-defying power. He said, "How will you prove you're not a spy from the demon cult?" At this moment, I had no strength left to fight, seeing the fierce sword energy attacking again. At this critical moment, I suddenly turned around, circulated the lesser yang technique, and knelt in worship before him, saying, "Kongtong sect disciple Li Zhexiu pays respects to grand ancestor." Seeing this scene, Wu Jizi was utterly shocked. Immediately after, he forcibly changed the sword energy's attack direction. After a moment of silence, Wu Jizi put away his weapon and laughed heartily. "You're very clever to actually be able to circulate the lesser yang technique. It seems you must definitely be a Kongtong sect disciple." With that, he helped me up, saying, "The test is over. I am the consciousness of mixed origin sword emperor Wu Jizi that remained 300 years ago. This is the first time I've encountered a disciple like you who simultaneously possesses both heaven-defying methods and the way of immortals." I stood up and asked back, "Is there a problem with that? Even if I used heaven-defying methods, I'm still a Kongtong sect disciple." Wu Jizi didn't respond but muttered to himself, "Could this be heaven's will?" That's right, to counter heaven-defying methods, one must also learn to use heaven-defying methods. This left me utterly confused. What heaven-defying methods? I just hoped to regrow my genitals and enjoy the pleasures between men and women. But to achieve this goal, I still needed to confirm one thing. So I inquired, "Is the legacy the mixed origin sword emperor left behind the stone wall a martial art?" Wu Jizi didn't expect me to be so direct, saying, "What if I said yes?" Hearing this, I hastily bowed in courtesy, saying, "Then please don't teach the martial art to me. Can you teach it to my senior brother instead? Because I only want to be the second in command and live a good life with fine food and drink. As long as I practice the Kongtong sect's secret manuals we recovered this time, I'll already be satisfied. The great responsibility of revitalizing the Kongtong sect should be entrusted to Liu Zhenhui. As long as he can receive the mixed origin sword emperor's guidance, he will definitely gain a terrifying power." Hearing this, Wu Jizi shook his head with a bitter smile. "You're actually this foolish. Don't you understand yet? You're destined to come here, because a heaven-defying ominous star will definitely descend again in the future." I still couldn't understand what he meant. The mixed origin sword emperor was the great hero who stopped the demon cult invasion 300 years ago. At that time, he should have resolved all the demon cult, right? But what he was saying now, could it mean the demon cult would make a comeback? The blood cult was a third-party extremist organization composed of radical forces from the heavenly demon divine cult. 300 years ago, the blood cult's leader, the blood venerable, led cult members in indiscriminate slaughter during a chaotic period. It was said that not only did blood flow like rivers, even the emperor ruling the Central Plains fled in panic after the blood cult occupied the masterless Central Plains. Wu Jizi led the Martial Alliance in a desperate battle against the blood cult. Ultimately, the Martial Alliance was victorious. After the tragic war, a new dynasty was also established. The martial world also received from the imperial family the privilege that officials and martial artists could not violate each other. This was also the imperial family acknowledging the Martial Alliance's fight against the blood cult. At this moment, Wu Jizi responded, "I cannot continue revealing heaven's secrets." About this, I was filled with resentment. Damn it, it seemed the situation was more serious than I had imagined. In my previous life, the blood cult had no activity. But in this life, my life trajectory had already become completely different. If the blood cult and demon cult forces invaded the Central Plain simultaneously, thinking of this, I clenched my teeth. I had originally planned to let Liu Zhenhui maintain peace in the Central Plains while I lived an easy life, but now there were two unknown threats. Once war broke out, regardless of age or gender, everyone would be filled with anxiety and worry about the future. At that time, if the wives with whom I shared love suffered mentally and emotionally from the war, and ultimately died with regret, who would be responsible? Thinking of this, I was so angry my whole body trembled. I absolutely didn't want such a future, didn't want such worries, and couldn't allow any anxiety or sorrow in my future. Since the Sword Emperor chose me, there must be a reason. Anyway, in the end, it was to make me stronger. There was no need to hesitate. So this opportunity could only be seized by me. But this didn't mean I would replace my senior brother as the protagonist in revitalizing the sect. sect. I simply wanted to add another layer of security for my beautiful future life. At this moment, Wujizi suddenly said, "Are you prepared to receive guidance?" I looked confused. What preparation? I'm a Kongtong sect disciple. Shouldn't I already be qualified? Wujizi revealed my inner thoughts, saying, "The guy fantasizing about pleasures between men and women in the illusion is quite talkative. You wouldn't be planning to use our sect's ultimate technique for such vulgar pleasures, would you?" This made cold sweat pour from my forehead. After a moment of silence, I earnestly explained to Wujizi, "My purpose is not lowly. The pleasures between men and women are the natural principles of the world. Moreover, I'm not the kind of person you imagine. The fact that I wasn't deceived by the illusion is the best proof. I only want to live a happy life with the women I love. How can you compare me with those evil heretics?" After hearing this, Wujizi had a bit of a headache. How would the women who love you feel about this? They would suffer from jealousy. Hearing this, I made a promise. I won't do things I can't handle, so what you're talking about will absolutely never happen. Seeing my resolute expression, Wujizi could only laugh helplessly, saying, "Your ambition is great. After all, it's only natural that someone who can oppose heaven-defying forces would have an abnormal mind." Then Wujizi prepared to teach me martial arts and told me to abandon the mental martial Tao I had accumulated before. I was all for it. This kind of eunuch martial art, even if I couldn't use it, it didn't matter. If possible, I wished such martial arts would become extinct. Wujizi immediately praised my strong enlightenment. Then he taught me the ultimate mystery of Kongtong sect martial arts, the mixed origin Wuji Dao, as long as one applied the principles of yin-yang transmission to the great universe, and cultivated the dual harmony divine skill to the highest level, one could comprehend the mixed origin Wuji Dao. Finally, he reminded me, "You must work hard to cultivate the dual harmony divine skill." At this moment, I suddenly opened my eyes wide. Upon seeing Liu Zhenhui lying beside me, I hastily woke him up. Liu Zhenhui told me he had just seen the Kongtong sect being destroyed. I explained to him that this was the illusion left by the Sword Emperor. While Liu Zhenhui was still processing this, I suddenly discovered a mysterious box. That must be the dual harmony divine skill the Sword Emperor left behind. But just at this moment, rubble began constantly falling from overhead. I immediately realized this was because the power the Sword Emperor maintained here had disappeared. I hastily ran to the treasure chest and took out the dual harmony divine skill. Then Liu Zhenhui and I ran together toward the exit. After successfully escaping danger, Liu Zhenhui and I simultaneously breathed a sigh of relief. Although the secret cave was completely destroyed, fortunately we brought out the lost martial arts. At this moment, Liu Zhenhui indicated it was time to return. I readily agreed, but before returning, I needed to go to one more place. At this moment, the little boy stood in place holding his luggage, his face also showing a trace of worry. It turned out that since he went to the Kongtong sect seeking help, he hadn't heard any news from Liu Zhenhui and me. He shed tears of self-blame, saying, "It's all my fault. What if something happened to the two brothers because of me?" At this moment, his mother scolded, "Grandfather's body isn't feeling well, and you're causing me trouble too." And in his grandfather's words, there was also some reluctance. "Do we really have to leave this place?" Mother said, "The family is already poor enough. Now even the livestock pen is gone. We need to go to a place where we can support ourselves." Just then, I arrived with Liu Zhenhui, saying, "We're disciples of the Kongtong sect. My name is Li Zhexiu, and this is my senior brother, Liu Zhenhui. Previously, your son asked us to catch the villain who destroyed the livestock pen. We've already resolved this matter." Hearing this, the mother said with utter surprise, "Are you talking about our young Sok?" And the little boy, seeing the two of us, became even more excited. The next second, he rushed toward us. I first told the little boy that what destroyed their livestock pen was a python that had turned into a monster. Then I expressed my gratitude to him, saying, "Thanks to your report, we avoided more losses." With that, I began rummaging through my bag, saying, "This is the inner core from inside the python. As long as your grandfather takes it, he'll quickly recover his health." After bidding farewell to the little boy and his family, Liu Zhenhui said, "If we could be stronger, wouldn't we be able to repay more people who support the Kongtong sect?" At this moment, I suddenly interrupted him, saying, "We need to hurry back." On the way back, I thought about many things. Although this time, through the little boy and the python, I obtained a fortunate encounter, it also placed a huge mission on my shoulders. In my previous life, Liu Zhenhui didn't obtain the demon-subduing divine skill. The demon-subduing divine skill didn't appear in the world, yet the secret cave still collapsed. This meant that in my previous life, someone like us also found the secret cave. What if that person was a descendant of the blood cult? What if they destroyed the secret cave to prevent history from repeating itself? What if they hid in a distant place in my previous life, evading the Eastern Depot and Western Depot's intelligence network, plotting conspiracies? So invisible threats were constantly in motion. I needed to be more careful in the future. Moments later, Liu Zhenhui and I finally reached the sect. How should we explain to Master our unauthorized departure? Just then, Master's voice suddenly came from behind. After confirming it was Liu Zhenhui and me, his expression immediately changed drastically. The next second, he directly gave us both a punch, saying, "Do you know I've been looking for you? What exactly happened?" After learning the whole story, Master once again inquired whether the situation was true. I nodded in affirmation and took out the night luminous pearl we had obtained from the secret cave. Looking at the recovered secret manuals, Master shed tears of joy with emotion. "I'm not dreaming, am I? The ancestors' wish to revitalize the sect finally has hope." Thinking of this, Master suddenly closed the book saying, "Although you indeed made a mistake by leaving without permission, you also made the great achievement of finding our sect's ultimate techniques, so this time I won't pursue your faults." With that, he pulled Liu Zhenhui and me into an embrace. Moments later, Master finally completed copying the demon-subduing sword technique. Then he turned his gaze to the valuable night luminous pearl. With it, we'd never have to go hungry again. At this moment, I suddenly said, "It's best not to let outsiders know about the dual harmony divine skill and the night luminous pearl," Master said with confusion. "The dual harmony divine skill is one thing, but the sect is short on money now. We have to sell the night luminous pearl." But my suggestion actually came after I started thinking upon hearing the mixed origin sword emperor mention that ominous star defying heaven, although the sword emperor didn't specifically mention things like going against heaven's will. Whoever it was, they must represent the blood cult, because in my previous life, the nation had completely eliminated them, so the intelligence department didn't have much information about the blood cult. But what they didn't know was that the reincarnation ritual I used in my previous life came precisely from the blood cult's ancient secret technique. They often disguised themselves as doctors to make a living. At that time, what was most important to me was recovering my genitals, so I didn't intervene much in the darkness of the martial world. But this life was different. Until now, I hadn't yet held hands with peerless beauties or enjoyed the pleasures between men and women. Under these circumstances, announcing the recovery of the demon-subduing divine skill was foolish behavior, because we didn't know when their claws would reach out. So to deal with these behind-the-scenes masterminds, we also had to quietly cultivate our forces. So I explained to Master that now was the first step in rebuilding the sect. Moreover, the night luminous pearl was also a rare treasure. If we didn't have the power to protect ourselves, once targeted by others, it might bring disaster upon the entire sect. After hearing this, Master agreed with my assessment. "I heard recently that the underworld gang Jinghui has been very arrogant. It seems we can't act rashly." Then, after locking up the secret treasures, Master smiled lightly, saying, "Today is a day worth celebrating. Let's go have a meal together." Hearing this, I first froze. Then my eyes filled with anticipation. Finally, I would meet the first flower. Soon, under Master's guidance, we arrived at Huading County, located at the foot of the Sex Mountain. Seeing the desolate scene here, I looked utterly confused. Was there really a place to eat here? Master indicated that there used to be many inns here receiving visitors to the Kongtong sect. But with the Kongtong sect's decline, the commercial district here had also greatly deteriorated, especially after being taken over by Jinghui. The atmosphere on the streets became even more dangerous. But the only fortunate thing was that Huading County's last shop, the Kongtong Inn, was still in business. Then, after arriving at the Kongtong Inn, I couldn't help but express my inner joy. The first time coming to the Kongtong Inn with our sect members was very meaningful, but upon stepping into the Kongtong Inn, compared to the desolation outside, here presented a lively scene. The inn owner, Shu Guangyuan, hastily came forward to bow. "Sect master, long time no see." After some pleasantries, he turned his gaze to me. Master introduced him. "This is our sect's newly accepted disciple, Li Zhexiu." He also told me that Shu Guangyuan had provided great help with the Kongtong sect's finances. Hearing this, I hastily bowed in gratitude. Shu Guangyuan said somewhat excitedly, "With such a polite and impressive disciple entering the Kongtong sect, I believe the Kongtong sect's prestige will definitely resound throughout the entire martial world again before long." This left me utterly confused. I just greeted him. Wasn't his reaction a bit exaggerated? But when I looked around, I discovered that all the guests here seemed very happy about my joining the Kongtong sect. Shu Guangyuan said, "Young brother, did we scare you? But you don't need to worry." At this, his face showed a trace of pride. "Everyone here hopes the Kongtong sect can be revitalized, and the goal is to eliminate that evil sect that oppresses the common people, Jinghui." At this, a man suddenly came before Master holding a cloth bag, saying, "It's an honor to see you. I hope this money can help with the Kongtong sect's reconstruction." Master immediately expressed his gratitude and promised everyone that his two disciples would definitely revitalize the Kongtong sect. Then Master inquired of Shu Guangyuan, "Why haven't I seen your daughter? I wanted to introduce her to Zhexiu." Shu Guangyuan responded, "Shaolin went to deliver something. She should be back around now." Hearing this, my heart jolted, and then I kept looking around. The inn owner's only daughter, Shu Xiaolin, called the First Flower, was finally going to appear. In the previous life, Liu Zhenhui and Shu Xiaolin were the two who rebuilt the Kongtong sect. If Liu Zhenhui was the Kongtong sect's vanguard, then Shu Xiaolin was the sect's grand administrator, a person with true power. With her mixed-blood unique beauty, she not only left behind the title of First Flower in the martial world, but was also dubbed the Cold Soul Sword Princess, because of her cold personality and formidable strength. Some even established a fan club especially for her, and their greatest desire was to die by her sword. Thinking of this, the corners of my mouth couldn't stop rising. How could I miss such a beauty? Hurry and let me behold that breathtaking beauty. At that moment, a woman suddenly walked over slowly. She said, "Stop with all this nonsense and get ready to leave. We're going to participate in the Kong Tong Sect's martial arts competition." The speaker was none other than Yin Shuilan, the Sword Empress and leader of the Hengshan sect. The woman asked in confusion, "Master, do we really have to go? The Kong Tong sect and Black Dragon Gang are just minor factions." Yin Shuilan interrupted, "This is a competition between the righteous and evil sides. For the sake of the righteous faction's dignity, we must attend. Besides, this is also for the benefit of our Hengshan sect." On the other side, I said to my master, "Master, I'll go deliver the letter to the arbiters we've already found." Lu Zhenhui immediately said with concern, "Junior brother, are you sure there won't be any problems going alone? We have no idea what the Black Dragon Gang people might do." This made me look utterly resistant. Physical affection between men was truly disgusting. I pushed his hand away and said, "Don't worry, the competition is about to start. They won't do anything to me." Hearing this, Lu Zhenhui finally breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Then you must come back quickly." Soon after descending the mountain, a cunning smile appeared on my face. Good thing Lu Zhenhui didn't follow me. Although nominally I was delivering letters, I had another secret agenda. The scene shifted to the Jianghui, where Wei Shaolian asked, "Did you bring the Kong Tong Sect's letter?" I said, "I did. It's just to notify everyone that we found the arbiters." Wei Shaolian was surprised that the declining Kong Tong sect actually had so many arbiters. Then she said, "You're about to become my servant, so you'd better start thinking about how to handle that." Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel annoyed and said, "You're the one who should practice how to call me brother." As I was leaving, I suddenly winked at her and said, "See you then." After walking out the door, I felt quite pleased with myself. Now it was time to handle the real business. So I said to the Jianghui disciple beside me, "I want to meet your leader. I heard you've been lending money. I happen to need some right now." Soon, after learning of my purpose, the Jianghui leader, Wei Tianming, was puzzled that a Kong Tong sect disciple would come to borrow money. I immediately retorted, "Do businessmen pick and choose their customers?" Wei Tianming laughed heartily and took out a cloth bag, saying, "Of course not. Here's 50 taels of silver. However, our interest rate is 30% per month." Hearing this, I couldn't help but curse inwardly. This was nothing short of robbery. But in the end, I still took the money pouch. Because no matter how high the interest was, I had already calculated everything. Moments later, I arrived at the lower 5 gates with the money pouch. Since news of the righteous evil competition had spread, there must be betting odds. If I bet on the Kong Tong sect winning, then the 30% interest would be nothing at all. Then I found the steward and asked him to lead the way. But to my surprise, they arranged a very important person room for me again. Did Lin Yuexiang want to see me that badly? However, when I saw who was actually in the room, I was instantly shocked. Why was he here? Mei Zhiliang, the white-faced Dark Lord and leader of the lower 5 gates. He was Qi Siyue's only disciple and the world's strongest homosexual. At this moment, Mei Zhiliang spoke first. "I'm pleased to see you. What brings you here?" I cautiously handed over the money pouch and said, "The lower 5 gates open betting on the competition. I'm here to place a bet. What are the current odds for the Kong Tong sect?" Mei Zhiliang counted the silver in the pouch and said, "There's 50 taels here. If you bet on the Kong Tong sect winning, the odds are 20 times. Saying this, he suddenly leaned close to my ear and said, "It would become 1,000 taels." Seeing this, I hurriedly pulled away and said, "If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving now." At this moment, Mei Zhiliang took out a wooden token and said, "After the competition ends, take this token to find the steward." After I left, he said to the screen behind him, "Master, he's gone." Hearing this, Qi Siyue quickly appeared and inquired, "What do you think?" Mei Zhiliang immediately confirmed that Li Zhexiu was not homosexual. Hearing this, Qi Siyue looked delighted. She said, "That's wonderful. To become my partner, one must pass rigorous verification." The next day, the highly anticipated battle between righteous and evil finally began. But just as I was marveling at the grand spectacle, a voice suddenly said hello from behind. The speaker was none other than Yin Shuilan, the Sword Empress of the Hengshan sect. Seeing this, my master bowed and said, "I am Quan Ying, leader of the Kong Tong sect. It's an honor to meet the Sword Empress." And after seeing her appearance in person, I couldn't help but think, truly worthy of being the most beautiful woman in the righteous faction. Then Yin Shuilan continued, "So you're the talented disciples from the Kong Tong sect participating in the competition. I hope you'll perform brilliantly." Hearing this, my face flushed as I said, "Please look forward to it. This competition will let the whole world know of our sect's revival. And Sword Empress, I hope you'll take special care of me." After saying this, I thought to myself, since I've returned to the past, Yin Shuilan is definitely my first choice for a wife. At this moment, a voice rang out, "The competition is about to begin. Please have disciples from each faction come to the arena and get ready." Hearing this, I slowly walked toward the stage. This was my first step as a martial artist in the Jianghu. This time, I would make every woman in the Central Plains remember my name. And of course, not just through the competition. Thinking this, I directly locked my gaze on Yin Shuilan and loudly declared, "Sword Empress Yin Shuilan, when I, Li Zhexiu, come of age, I will challenge you. I will defeat you and become your husband." Hearing this, the audience below was utterly shocked, and I revealed revealed a lecherous expression. My public confession and declaration plan had succeeded. However, the female disciple from the Hengshan sect was furious about this and said, "A greenhorn brat challenging the Sword Empress? The Sword Empress is an elder of the righteous martial world. Do you want to make an enemy of our sect?" I explained. "I'm serious. Even knowing the Hengshan sect would object, I've already prepared for the competition." Hearing this, the female disciple's eyes turned cold. She said, "In that case, let me test your abilities right now." Seeing this scene, I found it quite strange. Even for a public challenge, her reaction was too extreme. Just as tensions were rising, Yin Shuilan suddenly stood up to stop it. Then she stared at me, lost in thought. A young boy's challenge, he's at that hot-blooded age, just like her own declaration at a competition once. Although it was just a childish act, considering the Hengshan sect's current situation, this might actually be a new opportunity. So she made a decision on the spot. She said, "Li Zhexiu of the Kongtong sect, I accept your challenge." As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd below erupted in excitement. The Sword Empress of the Hengshan sect had actually accepted this child's challenge. Yin Shuilan said, "Any righteous man can challenge me. I have no reason to refuse. But if you're just playing around, I will personally punish you then." I happily made a guarantee. "Don't worry, I'll give it my all. Now let me show you my sincerity. I'll prove to everyone that I'm qualified to become your husband." However, the Black Dragon Gang disciple who was my opponent looked utterly contemptuous. He said, "Just as the rumors say, you're an idiot. This time I'll show you what it means to humiliate yourself." I made a dismissive gesture at him and said, "If you've got the guts, bring it on. I don't want to waste words with trash like you." Hearing this, the Black Dragon Gang disciple immediately raised his sword and attacked. He said, "You disrespectful bastard, now I'll make you pay for what you said." As the smoke slowly dispersed, the Black Dragon Gang disciple looked at the sword at his neck in disbelief. How could this be? But Yin Shuilan had taken in the entire process. It was like flowing water. The Kongtong sect's unique light footwork was perfectly suited to evading such large, sweeping attacks. As the referee raised my hand high, this meant the first round of the competition had determined a winner. Then I said smugly, "Stop standing there like an idiot. I know you're the weakest, so just get down from here quickly." In his anger and frustration, a large hand suddenly fell on his shoulder. He said, "Little brother, calm down. I warned you not to let your guard down." I looked puzzled. Were they really biological brothers? Why was the older brother so much more imposing than the younger? At this moment, the older brother said, "I'm Zheng Shishan of the Black Dragon Gang. I'll make you understand the consequences of provoking the Zheng brothers." With that, he slashed at me with tremendous force. After narrowly dodging this strike, I immediately made a judgment. The older brother's strength was clearly superior. I could barely evade using footwork alone. It seemed I'd have to use that move. I licked my lips with my tongue. Same thing. I don't want to waste time on trash. Hurry up and bring it on. Hearing this, Zheng Shishan charged forward again. He said, "Standing there like a fool will only lead to disaster." With that, his blade directly severed my shoulder. The next second, his eyes widened in horror. It was an afterimage. However, I wasn't surprised at all. The Kongtong sect's movement technique combined with the Eastern Depot's stealth art. Even if someone knew this combination, no one could break it. Just like that, through repeated evasion and attacks, Zheng Shishan finally exposed an opening, and I seized the perfect moment to press my sword against his neck. Seeing this scene, the referee announced, "The winner of the second round is Li Zhexiu of the Kongtong sect." As soon as these words were spoken, the audience below erupted in cheers, and I turned my gaze behind me. Next was the most anticipated competition, the battle with Wei Shaolian. At this moment, Wei Shaolian spoke first. We're old acquaintances, so there's no need for more words. However, I revealed a mischievous smile. Let me start by provoking her. I said, "You're right. You and I have a special relationship, little sister." Hearing this, Wei Shaolian became furious with embarrassment, but she quickly calmed down. She said, "You bastard, I won't be fooled by you again. Before the competition, I admit I underestimated your Kongtong sect's martial arts, but even so, you're no competition for me." With that, her eyes turned cold as she said, "As a master, I'll let you attack first." Hearing this, I charged forward in one swift move. The first strike in a competition is crucial, so I'll declare the battle's beginning with my most powerful move. I leaped into the air, channeling energy from my dantian through the meridian points to produce the yin-yang conduction and explosive jumping ability. This was the mixed origin technique, but at this critical moment, my pelvic floor muscles twitched as the smoke from the collision slowly dispersed. I looked at the scene before me in utter shock. It was blocked. Then Wei Shaolian launched her counterattack. First, she gathered internal energy in her left hand and struck me back. Then she charged forward with her sword. She said, "Your inferior sword technique is nothing compared to the Black Dragon Gang's coiling dragon blade technique." Seeing this, I could only desperately defend, although I knew full well the gap in our abilities was enormous. Now wasn't the time to fall, so I used all my strength to unleash a sweeping slash. However, Wei Shaolian, who dodged it, sneered and said, "It's time to end this battle. Now let me show you my true power." Seeing this, I secretly revealed a lecherous expression. I definitely couldn't block this strike, but at least I had to achieve this level to reach the planned effect, because in this life, my goal was to enjoy pleasure without responsibility. If I defeated Wei Shaolian, my reputation would definitely far exceed senior brothers, which clearly went against my intentions. So from the beginning, my goal wasn't to win, win, but to lose spectacularly. As long as I use the mixed origin technique that senior brother taught me, that thing shouldn't stand up. However, as soon as I circulated my internal energy, that thing stood up involuntarily. Seeing the audience's uniform expressions, Master smiled awkwardly. Really, even for puberty, his yang energy was too vigorous, and Wei Xiaolian was also affected, causing her certain victory strike to miss completely. Then she grabbed my collar and questioned, "You pervert, what do you think you're doing on this sacred competition stage? Do you think I'll be deceived by such lowly tricks?" At this moment, Liu Zhenhui urgently shouted from below, "Junior brother, pull yourself together. Don't stop the mixed origin technique. Focus your energy. The mixed origin technique will help with the reverse circulation blood technique." Hearing this, I suddenly snapped back to reality. That's right, this competition wasn't over yet, so I apologized awkwardly, then proposed a decisive final strike to her. Wei Xiaolian readily agreed, saying, "There's no point wasting energy on you anyway." After the plan succeeded, I let out a long sigh. Although that thing went down, who knew when it would stand up again? So let me quickly lose this competition before I embarrass myself further, as we both prepared and charged at each other simultaneously. Seeing the violent explosion that resulted, Master couldn't help but think, this boy's internal energy has improved considerably. If he hadn't broken his rhythm by playing the pervert earlier, he might have actually been able to compete with Wei Xiaolian. At this moment, inside the competition stage, I lay on the ground as expected, and the referee's voice rang out. "The winner of the third round is Wei Xiaolian of the Black Dragon Gang." To this, Wei Xiaolian snorted coldly, "Serves you right. With such abilities, you dare say you'll be my brother?" However, the moment she finished speaking, her clothes suddenly tore apart. Seeing this scene, the audience below was dumbfounded. They never expected the final sword pressure would be so powerful. If Li Zhexiu's martial arts were slightly higher, she might have lost an arm, but some held the opposite view. This is too embarrassing, isn't it? Not only did that thing stand up during the competition, but he also cut a woman's clothes open. At this moment, someone said, "Perhaps all of this was Li Zhexiu's plan. Doesn't the Kong Tong sect still have one more contestant? Although this is shameful, to achieve victory by disrupting the Black Dragon Gang's mental state, only he could pull off such a battle. He's a strange hero. The strange hero of Kong Tong has been born." Inside the competition stage, Liu Zhenhui held me tightly in his arms. He said, "Junior brother, you worked hard. Now let me finish this." Seeing this, Wei Xiaolian directly tore off her torn upper garment and said, "Your eyes are quite fierce. This is the competition I've been most looking forward to. Draw your sword." Liu Zhenhui drew his sword. Inside his body, he simultaneously activated the 3 yin true formula and the lesser yang technique. When the yin and yang energies reached their peak, he carried a fierce offensive and launched his attack on Wei Xiaolian. Before Wei Xiaolian could react, the next second, an explosion shook the entire competition stage. Seeing this scene, the audience below was utterly shocked. Yin Shuilan said, "The Kong Tong sect disciples' abilities are truly impressive. However, this competition can be called a battle between righteous and evil. Leader Kuan Yin, are you confident?" Faced with this tricky question, Kuan Yin directly spoke his inner thoughts. Compared to Zhenhui, I'm more worried about his opponent. Inside the competition stage, Wei Xiaolian thought, his speed and strength are terrifyingly powerful. If I hadn't instinctively blocked that strike, I might already be lying on the stage right now. Then she closed her eyes. Because of the smoke, she didn't know Liu Zhenhui's position and could only defend using her energy sense. Before long, Liu Zhenhui launched another attack. Fortunately, Wei Xiaolian reacted quickly and blocked with her blade in time. She thought, so fast. Not only can't I see his figure, I can't even make out his techniques. The most troublesome thing is that he disappeared again. If this continues, only death awaits me. So she immediately began wildly swinging her blade, using blade energy to disperse the smoke. Soon, an audience member was the first to spot Liu Zhenhui's figure. "Look over there. When did the Kong Tong sect disciple get to the far edge?" Wei Xiaolian mocked. "Are you afraid of the Black Dragon Gang's coiling dragon blade technique and trying to flee?" But what Liu Zhenhui was thinking was that this had dragged on too long. He absolutely wouldn't allow the person who hurt his junior brother to continue their arrogance. Now was time to end this battle. But at this moment, Wei Xiaolian had already used the coiling dragon blade technique to reach him. However, Liu Zhenhui didn't panic at all. "I will let the whole world know that the Kong Tong sect's ultimate technique, the demon subduing sword method, that my junior brother and I found has returned. Now I'll show you the Kong Tong sect's true power." When the two forces collided, sparks flew and debris scattered everywhere. In the stalemate, Wei Xiaolian was shocked. When did the Kong Tong sect find the demon subduing sword method? Thinking this, she suddenly felt something was wrong. Could the Black Dragon Gang's dragon-slaying blade be about to break? As expected, the next second, the dragon-slaying blade shattered into pieces, and she was also blown away by the overwhelming residual force. A generational prodigy? What complete nonsense. This was simply a monster. At this moment, Liu Zhenhui turned his gaze toward Wei Shaolian. He raised his sword once more and said, "You made my junior brother shed tears, so I'll make you shed tears of blood." With that, he slashed toward the resolute Wei Shaolian with determination. At that moment, a shout suddenly echoed throughout the competition stage. "I surrender." And at that moment, the sword stopped right at her neck. Then Liu Zhenhui slowly lowered his sword and said, "If there's a next time, I won't spare you." Then the referee announced the competition result. The winner is Liu Zhenhui of the Kongtong sect. As soon as these words were spoken, the righteous faction members below raised their arms and cheered, and Yin Shuilan finally understood what the master meant. No wonder Kuan Yin was so confident. They had found the demon-subduing sword method, but what surprised her even more was that the Kongtong sect's first disciple actually possessed the heavenly martial body. 3 days later, inside a dark cave, a martial artist dressed in red blood-colored robes came to report. "Greetings, Blood Demon Supreme." As soon as he spoke, the red blood swamp began to boil. The next second, a red-haired man with pale skin emerged. This person was the blood cult leader. The red-robed man said, "The Kongtong sect defeated the Black Dragon Gang in the competition. The demon-subduing sword method appeared during the competition. It said that disciple possesses the heavenly martial body. They've also found the mixed origin secret cave." Hearing this, the blood cult leader's blood-red eyes flashed coldly. "How very interesting. Accelerate the operation now." And those who were slow. Saying this, the blood cult leader's hand lifted slightly, and the blood in the swamp instantly condensed into a short blade. The next second, it flew directly to the red-robed man's neck. He said, "Those who are slow will forfeit their lives." But after the red-robed man left with his orders, the blood cult leader's lips curved into a cold smile. He said, "The appearance of the heavenly martial body won't change anything. After the plan is complete, the world will be ours." At this moment, I slowly opened my eyes. When my vision gradually cleared, I discovered a familiar figure. It was Xu Xiaolin. I said, "I've troubled you again. How long was I unconscious?" After learning I'd been out for 3 days, I hurriedly asked her about the competition. Xu Xiaolin smiled slightly. Her face couldn't help but flush slightly. She said, "The competition ended with the Kongtong sect's victory. Everyone is calling you and young Master Lu the twin heroes of Kongtong." Hearing this, I was instantly excited. Just this title alone would make women in the world swoon. Xu Xiaolin continued, "Two heroes emerged from the Kongtong sect. The first is the divine hero of Kongtong, Liu Zhenhui. The second is the strange hero of Kongtong, Li Zhexiu." Hearing this, I completely froze. Shouldn't it be sword hero of Kongtong? Thinking about it carefully, it made sense. After all, that thing stood up during my competition. So everyone called me the strange hero of Kongtong? But even so, I wasn't willing to accept it, because the title strange hero was generally only used for the few biggest scoundrels in the martial world. However, the good news was that the Kongtong sect won. According to the agreement, I was now Wei Shaolian's older brother. Later, after seeing my master, he immediately praised our performance and publicly announced the news of Xu Xiaolin joining the Kongtong sect. Hearing this, I secretly glanced at her. As expected, she had accepted my proposal. Soon, after Xu Xiaolin completed her discipleship ceremony, I suddenly said, "Master, I might have to compete with the Shimin family." After I recounted the entire story with slight modifications, Master let out a light sigh. "Shimin Qingye caught you practicing martial arts and an argument ensued. It seems this competition is unavoidable, but the opponent is Shimin Shinga. Although not as formidable as the Black Dragon Gang, she's still a rising star." I said, "Don't worry, if I thought I would lose, I would never have agreed to the competition. So please trust me." Faced with the now inevitable competition, Master could only agree. However, Liu Zhenhui said, "Junior brother, your body hasn't recovered yet. Don't push yourself too hard." I immediately revealed a smile and said, "It's fine, senior brother. It's time I stood on my own. This competition will show people that I'm not a burden to our sect, because senior brother with his handsome looks and divine hero title would never understand how I feel right now. I must show my impressive side in this competition to change my strange hero nickname and win the favor of beautiful women in the righteous martial world. But before that, there was something even more important to do. So I asked Liu Zhenhui, senior brother, "Do you know where Wei Shaolian is?" Moments later, I finally arrived at the Xinghui Manor that Liu Zhenhui mentioned. Looking at the guards at the entrance, I confidently said, "Do you know who I am?" Seeing me, the guard said in shock, "The Kongtong Lecher, you actually have the face to come here?" Hearing the word Lecher, my face instantly contorted as I asked, "Are you talking about me?" The guard said angrily, "Of course! You were so disrespectful to our young leader during the competition." Hearing this, I was instantly furious. Strange hero was bad enough, but they actually gave me such a suggestive nickname. However, just as I was about to take action, a voice from inside the gate told them to let me in. After meeting Wei Shaolian, she said, "According to our agreement, all the Xinghui members were turned over to the authorities. Your loan has been forgiven too, so I wonder what other business the Kongtong Lecher could have." Hearing this, my face turned ashen. she actually used that cursed nickname too. I said, "Do you think I came for such trivial matters?" As I spoke, I leaned close to her and said, "You promised to call me brother." This made Wei Shaolian's face instantly turn red. I continued, "What, is the renowned young leader of the Black Dragon Gang going back on her word?" Hearing this, Wei Shaolian very reluctantly called out brother. But I played dumb on the spot and said, "Louder, I didn't hear you." Then Wei Shaolian closed her eyes, her face red, and shouted, "Brother, is that good enough?" I winked at her satisfactorily and said, "Next time we meet, you have to call me brother too." With that, I left the place. Next was to collect the reward from winning this competition. But my only concern was, it wouldn't be that homosexual again, would it? However, when I opened the door, the scene before me left me utterly shocked. A table full of delicacies, plus a tire that looked somewhat cool. Combined with this soul-captivating fragrance, it seemed this would be no simple banquet. Then Lin Yuexiang seated me next to her and picked up a delicious dish, just as I opened my mouth to eat. The next second, I instantly regained my senses and knocked the chopsticks from her hand. What a seductive fox. I almost fell for it. The number one person in the evil faction couldn't possibly be so nice to me for no reason. Although I didn't know her purpose, she must be testing my heart. I couldn't let her manipulate me. I said, "That's enough. I only came to collect my winnings, not to play games." Lin Yuexiang pouted and threw out a money pouch. She said, "Here's 200 taels of silver. Now can we talk about serious business?" With that, she suddenly began removing her outer garments. Seeing this scene, I was startled and said, "What are you doing?" Lin Yuexiang said shyly, "I've decided, you're my only brother. Brother, as long as you're willing, I can give you everything." Hearing this, I looked utterly astonished. In my previous life, I'd heard at an Eastern Depot banquet that Lin Yuexiang had never shown her body to any man. Did this woman really have feelings for me? So I asked tentatively, "Would you really do anything?" Lin Yuexiang gave an affirmative response full of anticipation. It seemed I had already won half of Lin Yuexiang's heart. I had to make good use of this opportunity. I said, "Please help me spread a rumor throughout the martial world." Hearing this, Lin Yuexiang said angrily, "You won't play with me, but you want me to spread rumors for you?" I said, "Shimen Chinga of the Shimen family will compete with Li Zhexiu of the Kongtong sect, and the loser becomes the winner's servant." Then I leaned close to her and used my fingers to play with her hair, saying, "Xiang sister, will you help me?" Hearing this, Lin Yuexiang said in surprise, "Xiang sister, that's what men call their lovers." Seeing this, I continued, "That's right, Xiang sister, I can only rely on you." Lin Yuexiang said shyly, "Since it's brother's request, then I definitely will." Hearing this, an evil smile immediately appeared on my lips. Before she could finish, I said please and thank you and quickly left. At this moment, Lin Yuexiang's heart still couldn't calm down. He actually called me Xiang sister. This heart-racing feeling is like being poisoned. Even if Li Zhexiu proposed to the Sword Empress, it's fine. Because I, Lin Yuexiang, have already become his first lover. For my lover, of course I'll help spread the rumor. But this brat actually dared to manipulate me. How detestable. On the other side, I still felt quite pleased with what I'd just done. Since defeating the Black Dragon Gang, the Kongtong sect's prestige had been rising. The Ximen family would have to agree to this competition to save face. And this competition would naturally become a competition for the strongest rising star of the righteous faction. But there was still one key issue, finding an arbiter for the competition. Although righteous faction competitions had no stakes, I already had the perfect candidate in mind. Moments later, when I arrived at the still intact reception hall, Little Sword Empress Qian Zhaobin blocked my way with her sword and said, "Kongtong Lecher, what business do you have here?" I suppressed my anger and said, "You're not evil demons. Why would you give me such an unspeakable nickname?" "Fine, forget it this time. I have something to discuss with the Sword Empress. Please go inform her quickly." Qian Zhaobin said, "I'm sorry, but the Sword Empress went out for a walk. Please come back tomorrow. But we're returning to the Hengshan sect tomorrow, so you won't have a chance to see Master." Just then, a voice came. "Young Master Li, why are you here so late at night?" The speaker was none other than Sword Empress Yin Shuilan. After learning I had a request, Yin Shuilan immediately invited me inside. After some pleasantries, I directly stated my purpose for coming. "Senior, I'm about to compete with the rising star of the Shimen family. I wonder if you would be willing to serve as the arbiter for the competition." Yin Shuilan thoughtfully took a sip of tea. She said, "You want to compete with the Shimen family? Why should I be the arbiter?" I hurriedly explained, "I can understand your concerns. After all, I challenged you in front of so many people. But when I said I would become a man worthy of you in the future, I meant it sincerely. And this competition is to take the first step in challenging you properly. I hope you can see my sincerity." Then Yin Shuilan directly voiced her concern. "The Kongtong sect and Hengshan sect have a grudge, don't they? When the Kongtong sect declined, the Hengshan sect successfully squeezed into the 9 sects and 1 gang. Everyone mocked us as opportunists." Hearing this, I immediately knew the answer. It seemed it wouldn't work. However, the next second, Yin Shuilan suddenly changed her tone and said, "But I very much admire a challenger's growth, so I'm willing to be your arbiter. However, I have one condition. When the time comes, I'll tell you what it is." Hearing this, I immediately expressed my gratitude. But what puzzled me was that the Hengshan sect had always been mysterious in my previous life, so there was little little intelligence. What could the Sword Empress possibly want from me? The scene shifted to Shimen Xuantian sternly questioning Shimen Qinghe. Did you really arrange a competition with the Kongtong sect? Now this news has spread throughout the entire martial world. The result of this competition determines who will control the hegemony. Qinghe, why did you have to compete with that guy? Shimen Qinghe expressed her remorse apologetically. I didn't mean to. Seeing this scene, Shimen Xuantian felt his words were a bit harsh, so he immediately said gently, but as long as you can defeat Li Zhexiu, it's fine. Daughter, are you ready? This is a great opportunity to trample the Kongtong sect underfoot. Seeing this, Shimen Qinghe's confidence immediately surged as she said, Father, please write the competition invitation immediately. I will definitely drive that guy out of the Kongtong sect. On the other side, the rumor I'd asked Qi Siyue to spread should have circulated well enough. But just as I was about to write the competition invitation, Liu Zhenhui excitedly ran toward me. He said, Junior brother, the Shimen family sent you a competition invitation. For this competition, I've specially prepared some things for you. This time we must thoroughly crush the Shimen family underfoot. Just like that, Liu Zhenhui taught me the improved mixed origin technique. Unexpectedly, it was much easier to use than before. But what I found hard to handle was, Liu Zhenhui was becoming increasingly enthusiastic. At this moment, Liu Zhenhui suddenly brought up my confession to the Sword Empress and asked if I was serious. This made me quite surprised internally. Why was senior brother so direct? Was he affected by this? I directly placed my hand on his shoulder and said, my confession to the Sword Empress wasn't sincere. The competition with the Black Dragon Gang was to announce the Kongtong sect's revival, so I needed something that would leave a deep impression on everyone. Hearing this, Liu Zhenhui looked delighted. As expected of junior brother thinking so thoroughly, I thanked him for his understanding, but internally I was thinking I had to maintain good relations with the heavenly martial body. But Liu Zhenhui's excessive reaction still exceeded my expectations. Was this really something to be that happy about? A week later, after continuous training, the mixed origin technique became increasingly proficient. But what gave me a headache was this cursed reverse circulation blood technique. To use the demon subduing sword method, I had to use the reverse circulation blood technique, but every time that thing would stand up. What should I do? The Seaman family was taking this competition very seriously. If I didn't prepare properly, I might actually lose. So no matter what happened, I had to complete the reverse circulation blood technique. Just then, some movement suddenly came from the nearby bushes. Yin Shuilan walked over and said, I was taking a walk in the Kongtong sect. Why are you training in such a remote place? I hastily covered my lower body and said, quiet places make it easier to concentrate. The Sword Empress also noticed I seemed somewhat exhausted and asked, is your internal cultivation insufficient? I said, because there's an important competition coming up, I've been a bit anxious lately. Hearing this, the Sword Empress paused for a few seconds. She said, meeting is also fate. How about I give you a hand? Getting guidance from the legendary Sword Empress was an incredible honor. Then I took an offensive stance first and launched a full-force strike. The result was that the Sword Empress not only easily blocked it, but also discovered many flaws. She said, now it's your turn to block my attack. As soon as she finished speaking, the Sword Empress launched her attack at me. The fierce offensive forced me into pure defense. She said, your demon-subduing sword method's defense is very weak. The next second she slashed toward my chest. This sword directly cut open my clothes. After that, the Sword Empress pointed out my current problem. The way of yin and yang is the foundation of the Kongtong sect. The most basic thing is yin-yang harmony. But your martial arts is too biased toward one side. Hearing this, I was instantly shocked. Thinking carefully, in this life, I'd indeed been focused entirely on training stamina. My main cultivation had all been focused on nurturing yang energy. Could this unbalanced training method be preventing my growth? Then she reminded me I could focus my technique on yin-yang harmony. I had an epiphany. Because I'd been a eunuch before, I unconsciously rejected yin energy. That's why I broke the way of yin and yang, and that thing kept standing up. Only yin-yang harmony would allow the mixed origin technique and reverse circulation blood technique to coexist. So I first used the mixed origin technique to strengthen my internal energy, then combined it with the reverse circulation blood technique. Then I unleashed the final form of the demon-subduing sword method at the Sword Empress, Guardian Buddha Demon. The Sword Empress who blocked this strike was very satisfied and praised me. And I never expected I could actually produce sword energy. And this time that thing didn't stand up either. I'd finally entered the first-class realm. In my excitement, my exhausted body also began to go limp. Seeing this, the Sword Empress caught me in her arms in time. Even so, I couldn't help but smile. Tonight's moon was truly big and round.